Chapter 2169. The Heaven Wasteland Pagoda also had time acceleration, and its effect was even stronger than the Clear Sky Pagoda. In the space of Heaven Wasteland, time acceleration was 60 times. At the top of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, time acceleration was 40 times. In addition, its ability to absorb the energy of heaven and earth was also stronger. Knight Sorrow didn't test the combat power of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He didn't want to cause too much of a commotion. While Knight Sorrow was cultivating, the Council of Elders was also exchanging positions. Lin Piaomiao took over all the matters of the Council of Elders. The Great Demon King wrote a rule of the celestial realm. It was rare that the Great Demon King was serious. After the new rule was discussed at the Council of Elders, it was announced to all parts of the celestial realm and started to be implemented. Lu Qi's original body was in seclusion, but his doppelganger was still in the Heaven Wasteland City. He still had to play the role of a link. Knight Sorrow went to meet the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards, led by Du Yueding. Seeing Knight Sorrow, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards bowed. Knight Sorrow didn't know them, but they knew Knight Sorrow. Commander Du, do we Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards not have any combat missions? Knight Sorrow asked. Young City Lord, there are combat missions, but not in the celestial realm. We usually follow the City Lord's orders to clean up the extraterritorial world. We don't usually participate in the battles in the celestial realm, Du Yueding said. *first and / you are unknown. No one knows of your contributions to the celestial realm, but you are a group of people who should be respected. One day, I, Knight Sorrow, will clear your name and let the world know of your existence. Your efforts for the celestial realm will not be in vain. Knight Sorrow looked at the group of 200 people and said. Thank you, young City Lord. Du Yueding and the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards bowed to Knight Sorrow. I don't know what to say to you, but I will try my best not to disappoint you. Knight Sorrow knocked on the chest of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. Young City Lord, you don't have to do this. We haven't fought side by side, but we know very well about young City Lord. We are looking forward to fighting alongside young City Lord. Du Yueding said. How are the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards distributed? Is it enough? Knight Sorrow asked. Du Yueding told Knight Sorrow that the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Iron Guards were provided by the City Lord's mansion. I am Luo Qing, the manager of the City Lord's residence. The group of people behind me are the enforcers and managers of the City Lord's residence. When we have nothing to do, we stay with the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. The City Lord's residence has a lot of resources, but the resources used by the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards are all seized by themselves. An old man stood out and said. The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards are fighting for the celestial realm, so they must be supplied with sufficient resources. Even if it is inconvenient to use the resources of the City Lord residence, they must be satisfied. If there is a need, Director Luo and Commander Du can find me at any time, Knight Sorrow said. Thank you, young City Lord. Luo Qing and Du Yueding bowed again. In fact, you don't need to treat me as the young City Lord. We are all brothers who will fight side by side in the future. If there is a need, you can find me. Knight Sorrow was about to leave. After understanding the situation of the group, Knight Sorrow was very satisfied. The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were full of vigor and had a strong aura, stronger than the aura of the Heaven Wasteland Army. Knight Sorrow understood that this was cultivated through killing. Young City Lord, I have a request. Du Yueding called out to Knight Sorrow who was about to leave. Speak. Knight Sorrow turned around. Although we, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards, do not participate in the internal war of the celestial realm, we know the celestial realm very well. We have seen the battle videos of the people under your command, especially the god-slaying squad under your command. We admire their cooperation and their ability to fight in formations. Can we cultivate? Du Yueding asked. Knight Sorrow smiled. If you want to cultivate, of course there is no problem. Later, I will ask a few people from the god-slaying squad to come over and teach you the joint attack of formations. You don't need to be polite with me. I respect soldiers with a spirit of sacrifice, and it just so happens that you are." With that, Knight Sorrow left. He intended to ask Tianyu and Long Jin to come over. The Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were the backbone of the City Lord residents. If it could increase their battle strength, he was naturally willing to see it. After returning to the mansion, Knight Sorrow made arrangements. He asked Long Jin, Tianyu, and Yi Mei to help him strengthen the battle strength of the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards. After that, he went into closed-door training to study the Myriad Tao Tome. The end of the apocalypse did not have any impact on the celestial realm, but Knight Sorrow's prestige rose again. In the past, everyone knew that Yi Shang was an expert, but he was only at the middle level. However, it was different now. Yi Shang had killed 2 cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation during the Doomsday Tribulation with the Tribulation of 3 Emperors' Tribulation, proving his combat ability. It should be known that in the alliance of the 100 races of the Celestial Wasteland, it was very difficult for others to kill cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation except for the 3 giants. Even the Supreme Elders of the Council of Elders did not dare to say this. The Golden Dragon King and the Blood Kirin King had publicly said that they could defeat cultivators of the 5 Emperors' Tribulation, but it was hard to say if they could kill them. In the past, Knight Sorrow's reputation was enough. Now that he had proven his strength, his influence naturally increased. After calming down, Knight Sorrow entered a stable cultivation period. His original body left the Heaven Wasteland Tower and brought the Haotian Godly Pagoda to cultivate on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. His doppelganger cultivated battle skills every day, cultivated the Heavenly Spear technique, and strengthened his body. At the same time, he continued to perfect the Myriad Tao Tome. At this moment, Knight Sorrow's cultivation was at the Tribulation of 3 Emperors' Tribulation, and his body cultivation was also at this level. After modifying the Myriad Tao Tome, Knight Sorrow also had new ideas to strengthen himself. In the past, Knight Sorrow cultivated the Myriad Tao Tome. In addition to cultivating the physical strength in his body, he also used the power of Desolates to strengthen himself. Later on, the power of Desolates became the power of time, and then the power of space-time. Now that Knight Sorrow was thinking about using the forbidden attribute to strengthen his body, he was in a dilemma because he currently had 2 supreme attributes. After pondering for a while, Knight Sorrow decided to use the primordial attribute to replace the space-time attribute. Knight Sorrow made this choice based on the consideration of compatibility. The void attribute was his earliest basic attribute, and the primordial attribute was a combination of the void attribute. Therefore, it was the most compatible with him. After making this decision, Knight Sorrow's original body also started to replace the energy while cultivating his own force. He wanted to improve his body cultivation and cultivate the primordial Tao body. This way, he could use the 2 forbidden attributes in battle in the future, and he would not be at a disadvantage in terms of attack and defense. Knight Sorrow wanted to accumulate. With the God-destroying tribulation in front of him, he had to make some preparations early. His cultivation could be improved slowly, but the quality of his cultivation had to be guaranteed during each cultivation stage. He had to ensure that there was no improvement at all and that he had to be perfect. This way, he would not have some flaws when he cultivated to the peak. It would be very regretful if he failed to pass the God-destroying tribulation. Chapter 2170. Knight Sorrow had modified the Myriad Tao's Tome. In order to repay the favor of teaching him, Knight Sorrow planned to deal with the karma of that heavenly monarch. Fire Dance took Knight Sorrow's token and set off. Knight Sorrow was not afraid that something would happen to Fire Dance. The token he gave her contained his soul imprint. As long as it was activated, his soul energy incarnation would appear. Therefore, even if an expert had a conflict with Fire Dance, he would be able to stop them. 2 months later, Fire Dance returned and captured 2 people. Knight Sorrow recognized one of them as he had seen him at Heaven's Vault Cliff. It was Heaven's High Priest. At that time, if Lin Piaomiao hadn't appeared to help him resolve the crisis, he would have been in big trouble. The other person was a half-step emperor. A realm lord, I've investigated clearly. It was Heaven's High Priest's idea. This is the one who carried it out. That heavenly monarch from the primal chaos realm died in their hands, Fire Dance reported. Fire Dance, it's been hard on you. Take them to the world of reincarnation and deal with them. Night Sorrow waved his hand. He only wanted to deal with that karma. He didn't want to ask about other details. He also knew that Heaven's high priest was narrow-minded and had many misdeeds. Night Sorrow, you are the human emperor. You can't kill indiscriminately. Heaven's high priest was somewhat anxious when he heard Night Sorrow's order to kill. Can't the human emperor kill people? Don't you understand karma? All those years, you constantly killed cultivators who didn't submit to the Heaven's Vault tribe. Have you never thought of the price you have to pay? Night Sorrow turned to look at Heaven's high priest. This is the way of development. The weak submit to the strong. This is not wrong, Heaven's high priest explained. According to your point of view, I am the strong now. You have nothing to say, right? Night Sorrow turned to look at Heaven's high priest. He didn't like this kind of unreasonable attitude. Even though the person wasn't strong, he still wanted to use strength to suppress others. You are the human sovereign. Your actions are a disgrace to the word human sovereign. High Priest Heaven's face changed. He could tell that Night Sorrow really wanted to kill him. You don't understand at all. Night Sorrow waved his hand at Fire Dance. Since he couldn't get through to her, he didn't want to say anything more. Fire Dance grabbed Sky High Priest and his subordinates and took the teleportation array to the world of reincarnation. Night Sorrow reached out his right hand, which was filled with the myriad Tao Tome's energy. He understood that the cause and effect of the myriad Tao Tome had been resolved. He didn't need to think about it anymore. An hour later, Fire Dance returned and informed Night Sorrow that the matter was over. After settling the matter with High Priest Heaven, Night Sorrow's 9 domain avatars returned to the Heaven's Sealing Great Hall. He still had to cultivate the heavenly sword art. Although the situation was still stable, Night Sorrow did not want to be weak when the war broke out. He had experienced many wars. For example, when Devil Blood Realm attacked Primal Chaos Realm, the other party was strong. At that time, he felt powerless. He didn't want such a situation to happen again. So, he had to work hard even during peacetime. Tianhuang City quieted down. Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King's main body cultivated. His avatar slowly took over the matters of the Council of Elders from Lu Qi. Night Sorrow had a better understanding of Lu Qi's situation. Lu Qi's current cultivation realm wasn't high because he had suppressed his tribulation. According to the Grand Elder, if Lu Qi took the initiative to trigger his heavenly tribulation, he would be at the 6th Emperor Tribulation Realm. So, he had to go into seclusion to break through to the high-level Emperor Tribulation Realm. This was also the main reason why he stepped down from his position as Discipline Elder. If it weren't for the extraordinary period, he wouldn't have done so. On this day, after cultivating the heavenly spear art, Night Sorrow met Wu Feng and Song Ning, who had come to visit Lin Piaomiao. Night Sorrow invited the two to a pavilion in the corner of the mansion for tea. Big brother, it's hard to say what's going on with the 9-Yin world. They're definitely not in the same group as us, but we can't find their exact location, Night Sorrow said. Yes, I've learned a little about the situation from my family. My second uncle asked the city lord about it. The 9-Yin world is affected by the void energy and is no longer connected to the celestial realm. Their exact location is unknown. This is also the reason why the 9-Yin clan left the celestial realm. Their communication with the outside world should be the same as the 9 zones world, relying on the emperor-level teleportation formation, Wu Feng said. Your enemy didn't fight last time. After Mo Zhantian joined the battle, the gentleman's battle couldn't continue. We also lost the chance to kill him. Night Sorrow poured a cup of tea for Wu Feng. Last time, he didn't kill Yin Xiaotian. Night Sorrow still felt regretful that he couldn't avenge Wu Feng. Night Sorrow, although your cultivation has skyrocketed and you're in a high position, I still see you as a brother. There's no need to be polite between us. I know what you're thinking, Wu Feng said. That's right. Cultivators change as they grow. As the saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. It's already rare that you can drink tea with us. Tsang Ning looked at Night Sorrow with some emotion. Night Sorrow smiled. Boss Tsang, you don't have to say that. The days at the blood battle arena are still vivid in my mind. Our friendship isn't new. Don't think too much about it. Tsang Ning nodded. She knew Night Sorrow's character. Therefore, even though the gap between them was huge, she didn't try to distance herself from him. Besides, they were relatives. Night Sorrow's children had to call her auntie. What are you guys talking about? You guys seem to be having a good time. Lin Piaomiao walked over and sat down. Nothing much. Just talking about the past. Now that I think about it, my life in the Misty Dynasty was really difficult. Several manor lords wanted to kill me, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Since you're still alive, let's not talk about anything else. Isn't everything great now? Lin Piaomiao said with a smile. Her mature womanly charm had replaced her youthfulness in the past. In the past, she rarely interacted with others. Even when she was fighting in Tianhuang region, she only interacted with a limited number of elders. Night Sorrow, our children aren't young anymore. You taught Zhan Tan's child, Zhan Yi. Can't you teach our children as well? Tsang Ning looked at Night Sorrow and brought up another topic. Sure. Don't worry. I'll send them to the 9-domain world. I'm afraid that I'll mislead them. After all, I have a lot of things to do. Someone with a high cultivation must be a good master, Night Sorrow said. Tsang Ning, don't cause trouble for Night Sorrow. We'll teach them ourselves now. When they grow up, we'll send them to the 9-domain world, Wu Feng said. He knew that Night Sorrow had a lot of things to do. Others might not understand Night Sorrow, but he did. After sending Wu Feng and Tsang Ning off, Night Sorrow was thinking about something. He planned to go to Tianhuang region and pay his respects to his master, Yan Wushuang. Although Yan Wushuang didn't teach him anything in person, the heavenly sword technique had helped him a lot. Night Sorrow's high-level forbidden attribute was all thanks to the heavenly sword technique. Chapter 2171. Looking down at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow could still see the bloody footprints he left behind. Back then, Night Sorrow was already an emperor. His emperor blood essence had not dissipated, but its color had already darkened. Thinking back to the battle back then, Night Sorrow felt a sense of accomplishment. Back then, he had killed 5 demon wing race emperors with his emperor cultivation. It had always been a story of the 100 Races Alliance in Heaven Wasteland City. The battle crystal ball had also spread throughout the celestial realm. That battle had also been hailed as a legendary battle. Reaching out to touch the blood Chilan evil-slaying spear, Night Sorrow stepped on the bloody path he had left behind on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and headed toward Heaven Wasteland. The Heaven Wasteland army stationed on the Nirvana City Gate Tower was very surprised. They knew that Night Sorrow's original body was cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, but they really could not guess what his clone was doing. Night Sorrow's matters were not something anyone could ask about. After passing the area where his true body was cultivating, Yishang turned around to take a look. The scene of him being exiled all those years ago flashed in his mind. Things were different now. He was now an Imperial Tribulation cultivator who could fight those at a higher level than him. With a shake of his feet, Night Sorrow began to fly. Night Sorrow's rapid departure worried the commander of the Heaven Wasteland army stationed on the Nirvana City Gate Tower. It was too dangerous. After leaving the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was the Heaven Wasteland region, which was the territory of the Demon Wing race. Night Sorrow would easily be schemed against and besieged if he went alone. The commander of the Heaven Wasteland army flashed away and went to the hall on the first floor of the Heaven Wasteland Tower to report the situation to Lin Piaomiao, who was chatting with a few elders. What is this guy doing? He's the target of the Demon Wing race. Doesn't he know that? Qin Xianjie was a little anxious. Don't worry. Night Sorrow will think before he does anything. There should be a reason for him to do this. Lin Piaomiao was very calm, mainly because she believed in Night Sorrow's strength. Night Sorrow had the strength to kill a 5-emperor tribulation cultivator. There were not many people in the demon wing race who could hurt him. Flying over the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow arrived at the Heaven Desolate Mountain. He arrived at the area where he used to cultivate. Some of the teleportation arrays were still there. Night Sorrow teleported forward in the areas where the teleportation formation was not destroyed. He flew forward in the areas where the teleportation formation was destroyed. It did not take long for Night Sorrow to enter the depths of the Heavenly Desolate Mountain. Along the way, they met members of the Demon Wing clan. Night Sorrow, who was below the Emperor level, ignored them. When a rank 9 Emperor level Demon Wing clan appeared, he didn't hold back. There was no right or wrong in a race war. There was only life and death. Due to his fast speed, Night Sorrow only took half a day to reach the place where he had met Yen Wuxuang. The unparalleled array had been broken. Mo Tianji and Mo Yutian had come here once. Night Sorrow repaired the unparalleled array and made a cenotaph for Yen Wuxuang. There was nothing to commemorate her. Night Sorrow took out the heavenly sword art and placed a soul imprint in the cenotaph. As long as it was touched by energy, it would explode. This was also something that Night Sorrow could take out to commemorate Yen Wuxuang. After that, Night Sorrow stayed in the Heaven Desolate Mountain and dealt with the members of the Demon Wing clan when he met them. Mo Zhantian, who was in the Demon Imperial City, heard the news and confirmed who was in the Heaven Desolate Mountain. However, he didn't arrange for anyone to fight. He asked the Demon Wing clan to retreat first and not go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain. He didn't know if Night Sorrow's appearance was a trap, but he couldn't take the risk. Currently, the Demon Wing clan was at a disadvantage in terms of strength. If they were to fall into a trap, the gap between them and the Demon Wing clan would be even greater. Therefore, Mo Zhantian had to be cautious. He had to wait for Mo Yutian to make a breakthrough so that the gap between them and the Heaven Desolate Mountain would be narrowed. Mo Zhantian had his own estimation of the situation in the future. Although he was eager to conquer the celestial realm, he wouldn't act rashly. There was no way around the destruction of the Heaven Desolate Mountain. However, with the Demon Imperial City, the Demon Wing clan still had a foothold in the celestial realm. Furthermore, the Demon Wing clan had already occupied 2 realms. After the destruction of the Heaven Desolate Mountain, there was still room for development. Mo Zhantian wanted stability. After a period of time, the Demon Wing clan's morale had suffered a great blow. They needed time to recover. The members of the Demon Wing clan had disappeared. In the entire Heaven Desolate Mountain, only Night Sorrow was left. He would also collect any materials for refining pills and weapons. Unlike before, if some demonic beasts didn't attack him, he wouldn't hunt them. The heavens were benevolent. Night Sorrow wouldn't kill for no reason. The assembly of elders was ready. Even the Golden Dragon King and the Heavenly Astral King had arrived. They were waiting for Night Sorrow to call for help. Since the Heaven Desolate Mountain was the territory of the Demon Wing clan, Night Sorrow would definitely be killed if he went there. If he couldn't escape, he would definitely ask for help. #7 Everyone waited, but there was no news. 1 month, 3 months, half a year. In the blink of an eye, a year had passed. There was no news. Elder Lin, it's too tiring to wait like this. Let's go to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and ask his original body if he needs our help. Does he need us to bring him back? The Golden Dragon King was a little anxious. Then let's go and ask. Lin Piaomiao was also worried. She then led a group of people to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Noticing that someone had arrived, Night Sorrow's original body floated down from the top of the clear sky pagoda. Then, he activated the array that he had set up to block the invasion of the Nirvana tide. With a wave of his arm, he set up the tent and led the way in. The Golden Dragon King and the rest followed Night Sorrow into the tent and sat down. Young City Lord, your clone went to the Heaven Desolate Mountain. What's the situation now? Are you trapped? The Heavenly Astral King asked. No. In the first 1 or 2 months, there were still members of the Devil Wing clan. Later on, there were no more of them. Now, there are no more Devil Wing clan members in the entire Heaven Desolate Mountain. I have nothing to do, so I found a good place to cultivate. Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, you're too daring. If Mo Gentian and Mo Yutian were to deal with you, it would be very dangerous. The Golden Dragon King looked at Night Sorrow in confusion. He felt that something was wrong. Mo Gentian and Mo Yutian didn't have a reason to let Night Sorrow roam freely in the Heaven Desolate Mountain. They should be dealing with Night Sorrow. They're worried about an ambush. I once caught a member of the Devil Wing clan and used a soul illusion to check. They haven't seen Mo Yutian for a while. He's probably in seclusion. Mo Gentian is alone, so he's not very confident. If he's ambushed, he'll have to run even if he doesn't die. Night Sorrow said. Occupying the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone, Pu Luo and the great demon king's eyes were filled with disbelief. The 100 clans of the Celestial Realm and the Devil Wing clan had once fought to the death for the Heaven Desolate Mountain. In the end, no one could defend it. Later on, the 100 clans of the Celestial Realm felt that it wasn't worth wasting their energy on this useless mountain. They retreated to the Heaven Desolate City and relied on the city to resist the Devil Wing clan. But now, Night Sorrow fought a few battles in the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone and drove the Devil Wing clan away. It was simply unbelievable. Chapter 2172. I'm not stupid. I have some backup plans. It won't be easy for anyone to surround and kill me. Don't worry. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Then tell us what backup plans you have. Is it safe? The Golden Dragon King asked. Night Sorrow told them about his old tactics. He had set up a teleportation array, carried an array disk with him, and had a defensive array around his habitat. Hearing Yishang's words, the group was no longer worried because Yishang was very cautious. Even if Mo Gentian and Mo Yutian went to kill him, it would be very difficult to succeed. It could even be said that they would not succeed. After sending the group off, Night Sorrow returned to the top of the Haotian Godly Pagoda to continue his cultivation. The comprehension of one's own force was the comprehension of the Tao. It was quite difficult, and there was no such thing as sudden enlightenment. It had to be done step by step, and it couldn't be done in one go. It had to be done slowly. The difference between cultivators was speed. Heavenly Star, how do you feel? That's boldness. Not only did he go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain alone, but he's done it more than once. No one in our reincarnation cycle has ever done that, the Golden Dragon King said after returning to Nirvana City's gates. I forgot to ask him. There are no members of the demon-winged race in the Heavenly Desolate Mountain. Should we occupy it? What does Elder Lin think? The Heavenly Star King looked at Lin Piaomiao and asked. Lin Piaomiao shook her head. There's no point in occupying the desolate mountain. There are only 2 key points in this war. First, we can break through the Magic Emperor City, which will give us a fundamental victory. Second, they can break through the defense of our desolate mountain. The small-scale battles in the other areas will only wear us out. If we occupy them, we will have to defend them, which will increase the pressure on us. It's not the right time to occupy it. Hearing Lin Piaomiao's analysis, the Heavenly Star King nodded. He knew that Lin Piaomiao was talking about the fundamental problem. There were no substantial benefits in occupying the Heavenly Desolate Mountain. The following days were peaceful. The war stopped. Mo Yutian went into seclusion. There was no news. 10 years later, Aoi came out of seclusion and successfully entered the Emperor realm. The Yi clan celebrated among themselves. Yi Shang only invited his senior brother and master. In addition, the members of the God-slaying team who were cultivating in the Heaven's Sealing Palace also returned to the team. They had successfully entered the Great Emperor realm. This made Night Sorrow very happy. He understood the feeling of leaving the team. He wasn't used to not being with the team for a long time. Yishang's 9-domain doppelganger guided his children and disciples in their cultivation, including Zhan Tan's son. 10 years was quite a short time for a young man who was rapidly improving. Zhan Yi, the youngest of them all, had broken through to the Saint King realm, and his cultivation aptitude wasn't bad. After all, he was the descendant of an emperor. Knight Sorrow was also very satisfied with Zhan Yi's character and conduct. He was young but steady, and also a very sincere person. The reason why he observed so carefully was because Knight Sorrow noticed that Zhan Yi had a good relationship with Sikong Chuyu. Knight Sorrow didn't object to such a relationship. After all, he had confirmed his relationship with Knight Sorrow when he was in his teens. Yishang didn't tell Qing Ji. He felt that it would be better to let nature take its course regarding the child. Knowing the root of the problem, he was at ease. Zhan Yi respected Knight Sorrow very much. He called him martial uncle. In reality, he respected him as much as his father and master. He knew what status Knight Sorrow had now and how busy he was. It wasn't easy for him to guide him. 10 years had passed in the real world, but Yishang had been deducing the myriad Tao treasured tome for hundreds of years. After he finished deducing the 9 stages of the myriad Tao treasured tome, he called his disciples and children over. In the past, I taught you cultivation techniques and absolute arts for qi refinement. Today, I will teach you another ancient book. It is also the absolute art that your father and master relied on to establish ourselves. You might not be very good at it, but there are always some benefits to cultivating it. What realm you can cultivate to is up to you. Find a book that suits you. If you don't understand, you can ask me. Now, copy the one that suits your attribute. Knight Sorrow placed the myriad Tao treasured tome on the table in front of him. The myriad Tao treasured tome was very simple, so it wasn't complete. Knight Sorrow wrote different chapters according to different attributes. The supreme attribute and taboo attribute chapters weren't in the book in front of him. The children bowed. They knew that Knight Sorrow's body was one of his trump cards. They also knew that it was impossible to cultivate to Knight Sorrow's level. Knight Sorrow was the virtuous merit emperor. He had the taboo attribute. They couldn't compare to him. However, even if they could cultivate a little, it would still increase their battle strength. While the children and disciples were cultivating, Knight Sorrow didn't stop cultivating. The children's cultivation of the myriad Tao treasured tome wasn't very ideal. Only Yi Xiaoluo was able to cultivate it. The others didn't improve quickly after reaching the spirit refinement realm. However, Zhan Yi's cultivation wasn't bad. He was slightly better than Yi Xiaoluo. Knight Sorrow knew that this was because Zhan Yi's willpower was strong enough to cultivate in pain. Translator, Translation Nation Editor, Translation Nation. 2 years later, Chu Ning entered the Imperial Realm and returned to the God-slaying team. He was the Emperor of the Medicine Valley. However, Knight Sorrow knew that Chu Ning, Tang Tian, Ma Zhuang, and the others only had some feelings for the Taishan Peak. Their feelings for the Medicine Valley were the same as his. The disciples of the Taishan Peak entering the Imperial Realm was only a celebration for the Taishan Peak. This made some people in the Medicine Valley more aware of the situation. If they continued to mess around, they would be in trouble. A stable life was what Yishang needed. More than 10 years ago in the world of tribulations, he had fought against the cultivators of the 5 Emperors' tribulation, which had given him some deep insights. Not only did he have some ideas, but it also allowed his strength, which had been rapidly improving, to settle down. Tran Hung returned to Tianhuang City and went to Knight Sorrow's residence to see Lin Piaomiao, the great demon king, Piluo, Long Jin, and the others. He found it strange that he did not see Knight Sorrow. He knew that Knight Sorrow was cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, but that was his original body. His doppelganger was also gone. After learning that Knight Sorrow had gone to Tianhuang Mountain for 12 years, Tran Hung looked worried. This was because Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian were not easy to deal with. Not only were they good at scheming, but they also had super strong strength. In the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm, only he and King Yowu could suppress them. Seeing that Tran Hung was worried, Lin Piaomiao explained in detail about Night Sorrow's backup plan and the current situation. Tran Hung was silent for a while, then said with a smile, occupying Tianhuang Mountain alone. I am impressed. Is Night Sorrow's name so scary now? It is very scary. Otherwise, that bastard Mo Zhantian would not have arranged for his people to leave Tianhuang Mountain. This means that he is afraid. The Golden Dragon King entered Night Sorrow's residence. Now that the Grand Elder was overseeing Samsara Island, he had returned and was currently living in Tianhuang City. Chapter 2173. Tran Hung didn't disturb Night Sorrow's main body. After deliberately restraining his aura, he passed by Night Sorrow's cultivation area. After crossing the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and entering the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, Tran Hung felt a little emotional. He had been here many times, but it was never as peaceful as it was now. In the past, when he came here, it was always accompanied by war and slaughter. But now, there was only wind blowing and swaying ancient trees. There was no killing aura. Night Sorrow's doppelganger cultivated the heavenly spear arts every day. Other than comprehending the peerless attribute, it also increased the power of the lost art. The aura of the heavenly desolate mountain was different from that of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow also gained a lot of enlightenment. Today, after cultivating the peerless spear arts for a while, Night Sorrow discovered a figure in the area covered by his soul. It looked like Tran Hung. Night Sorrow didn't let down his guard and continued to scan with his soul power. He was worried that Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian were in disguise, which would make it easy to trick him. Feeling Night Sorrow's soul power scan, Tran Hung released his aura. He had to let Night Sorrow confirm. If Night Sorrow ran away using the transfer array, he would have to find him. This time, he had searched for nearly a month before finding the area where Night Sorrow was. It wasn't easy. Soul aura couldn't be faked. After discovering that it was really Tran Hung, Night Sorrow left the array area and stood outside to welcome Tran Hung. Seeing Night Sorrow walking out of the array with a profound aura, Tran Hung nodded with satisfaction. Very good. You are improving every moment. I have to work hard. We're all facing the God-destroying tribulation. The City Lord, Uncle Master, and Great Sect Elder are all at the tribulation of the 9 Emperors. I'm still at the tribulation of the 3 Emperors. If I don't work hard, I won't feel at ease. Yishang led Emperor Chen into the array formation area and made a pot of tea at the tea table outside the tent. I've been looking for you for a month. I originally thought that you would be at the edge of the Mount Tianhuang or at some corner, so I've been looking for you in the periphery. Who would have thought that you would be at the highest peak of the Mount Tianhuang? Are you telling me that you're here? Shen Huang sat down and looked down at the Mount Tianhuang. I didn't think too much about it. I just feel relaxed and happy here. It's more comfortable, Yishan said as he stretched his body. Haha. Your way of thinking is really different from others. Staying in such a symbolic area with the meaning of war is just to relax your mind. Impressive. Chen Huang smiled. The two drank tea and chatted casually. Then, they talked about the cultivation of the forbidden attribute. Knowing that Night Sorrow had reached the peak of the middle-class emperor rank, Tran Hung was very surprised. Night Sorrow had reached the high-class emperor rank and entered the emperor tribulation. This meant that the forbidden attribute was at the peak. Your talent is too scary. According to your aura, it won't be long before you enter the tribulation of 4 emperors. If the forbidden attribute is raised again, there will be a lot of room for growth. Tran Hung looked at Night Sorrow again and said, My limitless attribute has reached a bottleneck again. It won't be easy to break through. After all, it's not good at it. As for my cultivation, it's increased quite well. If I continue at this pace, I'll be able to increase it by 1 rank in 3 to 5 years. Night Sorrow said. 3 #G initial K4 square root, haha. Don't talk nonsense. You're already at the peak of the middle-class emperor rank for an attribute you're not good at. If others heard you, it would be a blow to their confidence. Tran Hung laughed and said. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to show off. Night Sorrow's words were stuck in his throat. Tran Hung naturally understood Night Sorrow. He knew that Night Sorrow wasn't a showy person. He also knew about Night Sorrow's situation. The geniuses of the past couldn't compare to him because Night Sorrow had the luck of two supreme worlds. Adding on his high perception, a flash of inspiration was equivalent to countless years of comprehension. This was something that no one could be envious of. Tran Hung wasn't in a hurry to leave. He stayed with Night Sorrow on Heaven Desolate Mountain and the two continued to exchange their cultivation experiences. Tran Hung's cultivation experiences were of great help to Night Sorrow. After listening to Tran Hung's understanding of battle techniques, Night Sorrow had another idea. He had a new train of thought. Night Sorrow had listened to Tran Hung's train of thought. Adding on Datura's Great Death Annihilation / he planned to use the primordial attribute as a foundation and follow the Great Annihilation /'s casting method to cultivate the primordial absolute art. With this train of thought, Night Sorrow began to move. He held the Blood Kirin evil slaying spear and began to cultivate. He cast the Great Death Annihilation / and then tried to use the Limitless attribute. Naturally, he didn't succeed at first. It was easy to use a single attribute to activate an absolute art, but it was difficult to combine attributes. Night Sorrow, what are you trying to cultivate? Tran Hung, who was watching from the side, asked. I plan to study an absolute art. It was the City Lord's violent slaughter that gave me some ideas. I plan to use the Great Death Annihilation / as a foundation to cultivate the Limitless Annihilation / Then, I will continue to upgrade it to the Primordial Annihilation / The primordial attribute is based on nothingness and has a strong annihilation ability. If I use the primordial attribute to cast the Great Annihilation / it should be a good absolute art. Night Sorrow spoke his thoughts. How can it be good? If you succeed, it will be an absolute art. Unfortunately, it can't be passed down as an inheritance. Tran Hung said. Cultivators worked hard to study absolute arts and secret cultivation techniques. Not only did it improve their own strength, but the things they researched could also be passed down as an inheritance to future generations. However, as a cultivator of the taboo attribute, or even a cultivator of the supreme attribute, it was impossible. It was too extreme. In a supreme world, in a single reincarnation cycle, there was only one person who was born with a perfect supreme attribute. It was very, very difficult to cultivate a supreme attribute. This led to the narrowness of the inheritance. It's nothing. When I have free time, I will split the absolute arts. For example, my reincarnation True Dragon Secret Art can be split into Destruction True Dragon Secret Art, Limitless True Dragon Secret Art, and Space True Dragon Secret Art. If I split it again, it can become Life True Dragon Secret Art, Death True Dragon Secret Art, Time True Dragon Secret Art, and Space True Dragon Secret Art. This way, most people will be able to cultivate them. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yes, in the past, there were very few absolute arts left behind by forbidden attribute cultivators, so we don't have this kind of idea. If we proceed according to your idea, it will not be an inheritance, but an orthodoxy. Very good. Tran Hung nodded at Night Sorrow. In the past, I felt that I was young, so I couldn't consider the issue of inheritance. Recently, my original body needs time to cultivate, so I pondered about this. I only have one era. If I can't pass the God-destroying tribulation, then what should be left behind should be left behind. No matter what, I have to let others know that I, Night Sorrow, existed. Therefore, I organized my cultivation techniques in the past for the City Lord to take a look. Night Sorrow handed a copy of the Myriad Tao tome written by this doppelganger to Tran Hung. Tran Hung took the ancient book and read it. He and Night Sorrow did not avoid suspicion. Tran Hung read the ancient book very seriously. It took him half a day to finish reading it. This was because while he was reading, he was also deducing with his own thoughts. Chapter 2174. It's easier said than done. However, I will work hard. City Lord, please take the Myriad Tao tome for reference. Don't be in a hurry to give it to me. Knight Sorrow didn't take back the Myriad Tao tome. He really hoped that it would be of some help to Tran Hung. My training has already been finalized. The main mystery of the Myriad Tao tome is to lay a solid foundation, especially in the spirit refinement realm. It can strengthen the soul by 30%. This is too terrifying. However, the effect won't be that good if I practice it halfway. After I read it, I will compare it with my previous practice. Tran Hung pushed the Myriad Tao tome back to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow nodded and took back the Myriad Tao tome. I let the children practice it. I also found something wrong. The effect of strengthening the body is not bad. However, the strengthening of the soul is not as big as 30%. It seems that the spirit sea has been finalized by the Qi refinement realm, which limits the strengthening of the Myriad Tao tome. They should practice the Myriad Tao tome to pass the spirit refinement realm first. Tran Hung nodded. He also confirmed this point. That's why he said that the Myriad Tao tome was the most suitable for laying the foundation. It was the practice before the Sage realm. Tran Hung didn't leave. He had already solved the problem of the foreign world. He couldn't find the problem that he couldn't solve. He also didn't have any solution. Knight Sorrow was very happy that Tran Hung didn't leave. This was because he could give him a lot of pointers. With the passage of time, Knight Sorrow's infinite annihilation / gradually took shape. Its might was much stronger than the death annihilation /. After all, this was a high-level fusion attribute. Very good. You have deduced it. What's the next step? Tran Hung was very happy when he saw Knight Sorrow's infinite annihilation / take shape. Practice the space annihilation / then the nothingness annihilation / and finally the combination. This secret art is not easy. Knight Sorrow put away the blood Kirin evil slaying spear and said. For newest, chapter W-pu, it is not easy. However, if you think about it from another perspective, this is also a process for you to familiarize yourself with the origin attribute. Tran Hung looked at Knight Sorrow and said. Yi Sheng nodded. He felt that Chen Huang's way of thinking was correct. This was the embodiment of experience. He had two supreme attributes, but he didn't dare to say that he understood. There was no movement, so Yi Sheng stayed in the desolate mountain. However, Chen Huang would sometimes leave for a period of time and then return. He was either investigating the situation of the devil-winged race or investigating whether there were any new outer world. Attributes conflicted with each other, so Knight Sorrow wasted a lot of time to cultivate and deduce his unique skills. In his 4th year at the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, he only managed to figure out the space-time annihilation /. It was also at the end of this year that his sure cultivation reached 40%. Knight Sorrow arrived at the Yawu Mountain. He did not disturb King Yawu and went to transcend the tribulation. King Yawu knew when the lightning tribulation was about to descend. He had been watching Yi Sheng from a distance. He understood that Yi Sheng didn't want to disturb him. He was very pleased because Yi Sheng's cultivation speed was very fast. The tribulation of 3 emperors and tribulation of 4 emperors was a watershed. The soul would transform. Even if the soul left the body, it would have a certain survival ability and combat power. King Yawu felt that Knight Sorrow would have no problem fighting a tribulation of 6 emperors. He might even be able to kill them. This was not an exaggeration. The difference between the tribulation of 3 emperors and tribulation of 4 emperors was not just one level. It was the difference between the tribulation of 5 emperors and tribulation of 6 emperors. Knight Sorrow's tribulation of 3 emperors could kill a tribulation of 5 emperors. It would not be a problem for him to advance to the tribulation of 4 emperors and kill a tribulation of 6 emperors. After leaving the Yawu Mountain, Knight Sorrow went to the Heavenly Desolate Cliff to take a look. The Heavenly Desolate Cliff was where the Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards were stationed. The Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards cultivated in time acceleration. This was one of the reasons why they were strong. Like Knight Sorrow, they cultivated in time acceleration except for fighting. Therefore, their cultivation levels were not bad. When Night Sorrow arrived, the Heaven Wasteland Steel Guards were all cultivating. They were cultivating their array formations and combined attacks. Furthermore, they were very proficient. Long Jean was not here, but Tianyu was. Tianyu did not cultivate alchemy or blacksmithing. Instead, he specialized in array formation. He was already an Imperial Lord-level array master, so he was better in this aspect. When they saw Night Sorrow, the Heavenly Desolate Iron Guards bowed. Not bad. You have cultivated well. When you go on the battlefield to kill enemies, you will show your true power. Night Sorrow nodded in satisfaction. It is mainly because Long Jean and Tianyu, the two Imperial preceptors, are more attentive to our cultivation. Du Yueden cupped his hands at Tianyu. Imperial preceptors were the same as heavenly masters. They were honorifics for cultivators who had achieved success in alchemy, blacksmithing, and array formation. Commander Du, you are too polite. It is because everyone has worked hard. This cannot be ignored. Tianyu hurriedly waved his hands. We are all brothers, so there is no need to be polite. Everyone has done well. If you need anything, just call me at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow said. 13th brother, you have to treat me to a drink. I have been staying at the Heavenly Desolate Cliff for a while. Tianyu ran to Night Sorrow, who was about to leave. All right, Commander Du, I will leave it to you. Night Sorrow nodded at Du Yuedeng and left with Tianyu. After leaving the Heavenly Desolate Cliff, Night Sorrow asked Tianyu and Yin Yanxiao about their lives. 13th brother, don't worry. Apart from not having children, everything else is fine. As for children, our cultivation is high, so it will be difficult for us to have children. Not everyone is as lucky as you, 13th brother. It is the same for Long Jean and the dragon language. Tianyu said. After returning to his mansion, Night Sorrow chatted with his wives in the Heavenly Desolate City. After resting for 2 days, he returned to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge to stabilize his cultivation. On the Heavenly Desolate Mountain, Tran Hung looked at the meditating Night Sorrow with admiration. After Night Sorrow's main body had advanced, the cultivation of his clone had also advanced. Tran Hung had seen all of this. Tran Hung wasn't worried about whether Night Sorrow's cultivation could keep up at the end of this epoch. Night Sorrow had only cultivated for a little more than 1,000 years, and an epoch had 100 billion years. Even if his cultivation slowed down in the later stages, he wouldn't be stuck at Night Sorrow's level. Because there was no bottleneck in the Emperor Tribulation, it depended on the accumulation of time. Of course, depending on one's talent and comprehension, the cultivation speed would also be different. Watching Night Sorrow stabilizing his cultivation, Tran Hung sat down to meditate. Next was Night Sorrow's time to stabilize his cultivation. There was a gap between cultivation and realm, so he needed time to adapt. Night Sorrow used half a year to stabilize his cultivation. After stabilizing his realm, Night Sorrow raised his cultivation to the same level as his realm. After finishing his cultivation, Night Sorrow expressed his gratitude to Tran Hung. Tran Hung congratulated Night Sorrow. It's a bit strange. Did the Devil-Winged clan really abandon us and leave us here? Did they abandon the Heavenly Desolate Mountain? Night Sorrow stood up and looked towards the Devil Imperial City. Chapter 2175. That's true. 1 or 2 people can't form a real occupation, so they don't really care. Night Sorrow nodded. Tran Hung nodded. Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian, as the 3 greatest heavens of the Demon Wing clan, are people who take into account both strength and strategy. They understand some things very well. If they are not confident, they will not leave the Demon Imperial City. If they do not leave the Demon Imperial City, it is useless for us to take over their territory. Night Sorrow knew that this situation involved a fundamental problem. As long as the Demon Imperial City was not broken, the foundation of the Demon Wing clan was still there. The Demon Wing clan has existed for too long. They know the way of survival. Even if Heaven Wasteland domain is really destroyed, they will not be afraid. If I'm not wrong, they have now found a way out. After occupying other domains, the Demon Wing clan can still survive. Tran Hung told Night Sorrow his estimation. In fact, this was the situation of the Demon Wing clan now. Night Sorrow shook his head helplessly. The Demon Wing clan is really a cancer. They are very stubborn. The main thing is that they have an unbreakable fortress. If there is no Demon Imperial City, how long can they withstand the attacks of the 100 Races Alliance of the Celestial Realm? It will not be long before they are annihilated in the long river of history. Tran Hung narrowed his eyes and looked in the direction of the Demon Imperial City. He felt a little regretful because, even though he had cultivated to the tribulation of the 9 emperors and the unity of the spirit, there were still some things that he could not solve. The Demon Imperial City, like the God-destroying tribulation, was a shadow in his heart that could not be removed. Tran Hung had been to the Demon Imperial City and could not break it at all. The conversation reached a dead end. Night Sorrow and Tran Hung did not talk about this topic. Night Sorrow, be careful. I want to go outside and take a look. You have solved an apocalyptic tribulation, but in the last era of the celestial realm, anything can happen. Who knows, that foreign world may suddenly appear and turn into a tribulation of the heavenly Tao to destroy the celestial realm. Seeing that Night Sorrow was doing well, Tran Hung planned to leave. He still had many things to do. If there are any problems, let me know. My original body is still cultivating on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Night Sorrow did not ask him to stay. He knew that this was a special time, and Tran Hung could not stay here forever. Alright, you have to pay attention to your safety too. You have to pay attention to the development of the 9-domain world. Don't let anyone with ulterior motives sneak in. Most importantly, don't let the Demon-Winged clan sneak in. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome. Chen Huang warned Yi Chang. After Tran Hung left, Night Sorrow began to cultivate his absolute art, the space-time destruction slash. In the Demon Imperial City, Mo Yutian appeared. He had successfully entered the tribulation of the 9 emperors. After taking a look at the body of the demon ancestor, the two of them went to a pavilion. Heaven Battling Pavilion, Mo Zhantian's residence. Yutian, passing the tribulation of the 9 emperors is a joyous matter. Next, you have to focus on cultivation. There is still a big difference between the soul unification and the tribulation of the 9 emperors. Although you have to give up your doppelganger and the chance of reincarnation, you will have an extremely strong combat strength. Mo Zhantian said to Mo Yutian, who had just come out of seclusion. Okay, how is the situation now? Mo Yutian asked. He had stopped cultivating because he was worried about the situation. Mo Zhantian shook his head and told him about Night Sorrow's appearance in the heavenly desolate mountain, as well as his worries and arrangements. Hearing Mo Zhantian's words, Mo Yutian's face was filled with murderous intent. He hated Night Sorrow too much because Night Sorrow's appearance had ruined many of his plans. The demon ancestor's heavenly desolate war halberd was snatched away by Night Sorrow. The human sovereign skeleton of the celestial realm was also brought back to the heavenly desolate city by Night Sorrow. Both Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian knew that if Night Sorrow had not been one step ahead, the heavenly desolate war halberd and the human sovereign skeleton would have fallen into the hands of the Demon Wings clan. Because of Night Sorrow, the Demon Wings clan had failed to seize the Reincarnation Island. This had a profound impact on their war plans. If the Reincarnation Island had fallen into the hands of the Demon Wings clan, the Demon Wings clan would have already placed their troops in the hinterland of the celestial realm. The Gentleman's War was a tactic that Mo Zhantian had deliberately arranged to raise the morale of the Demon Wings clan. It was also because of Night Sorrow's appearance that the Demon Wings clan's cultivators had been killed one after another. Not only had the tactic failed, but it had also helped Night Sorrow. Most importantly, on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, if not for Night Sorrow's interference, Mo Zhantian would have brought Mo Tianji back to the Demon Imperial City. Would Mo Tianji have fallen? Q-Ochre 7 in the Demon Wings clan, Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian had already determined that Mo Tianji had fallen. After Mo Tianji severed the karma of the past, the Demon Wings clan's enlightening sacred ancestor had truly become a thing of the past. Therefore, Mo Tianji's statue had cracked. All of this made Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian hate Night Sorrow to the core. If they had the chance, they would kill Night Sorrow at all costs. Right now, we need stability. Besides, it's not like we don't have a chance. Our clansmen have captured a criminal from the Celestial Realm that was exiled to the Celestial Wasteland by the 100 Races Alliance. He's from the Green Rock clan. Let him carry a spatial treasure and send him back to the Celestial Realm. Then, our chance will come, Mo Zhantian said. This is a chance. When he returns, he will definitely be watched. However, this isn't important. If he brings the spatial treasure into the Celestial Wasteland City or abandons it near the Celestial Wasteland City, we will have a chance to sneak into the Celestial Realm, Mo Yutian said excitedly. Yes, the time isn't ripe yet. We can't set up a teleportation array that connects the Demon Imperial City and the Celestial Realm directly. We need a fulcrum. If we can find it, we can carry out our plan without anyone knowing, Mo Zhantian said. It was difficult to find a fulcrum near the Nirvana Ocean. Reincarnation Island could do it, but it was occupied by the 100 races of the Celestial Realm. Other than the appearance of Reincarnation Island, when the chi in the Nirvana Ocean was chaotic, it was impossible to fly at any other time. Then, Zhantian, do you have any ideas? Mo Yutian asked. I have some ideas, but I still need to think about it. You don't have to worry about it. Cultivate to the soul unification stage first. The Celestial Realm's Lord of the Celestial Wasteland City and King Yo-Wu are tough nuts to crack. You have to reach the soul unification stage first. Only then will we not be suppressed by them, Mo Zhantian said. Nodding to Mo Zhantian, Mo Yutian left. He wasn't a sloppy person. Since Mo Zhantian had a plan, what he needed to do was to work hard to raise his cultivation. After Mo Yutian left, Mo Zhantian started to think of a feasible plan. The first was the fulcrum. Currently, there were only two suitable places. One was the Reincarnation Island, and the other was the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Some time had passed since the appearance of Reincarnation Island. The Nirvana Ocean had stabilized, and it was difficult to approach. In other words, the Nirvana Ocean Bridge was the most suitable place to be the base of the teleportation array. Chapter 2176. Now was the last era of the Celestial Realm's last reincarnation cycle. Soon, they would enter the secondary Supreme World. The demon-winged clan's desire to seize it was not as strong as before. Their target was the new Supreme World, the 9-domain world. Mo Zhantian only knew about the 9-domain world from the news. He did not have the opportunity to enter. Mo Zhantian felt that once they entered the 9-domain world, the demon-winged clan and the Celestial Realm would have the same starting point. It would depend on who was more capable and who could gain control. As for the Realm Lord, Night Sorrow, although Mo Zhantian had suffered losses before, he did not feel that it was difficult to deal with him. In his impression, Night Sorrow was still in the early stage of the Emperor Tribulation. His level was still very low. As long as he had the chance, he could easily crush him to death. After pondering for a while, Mo Zhantian sent someone to bring Heaven's Horizon over. He then asked about the specific situation. He had to make some arrangements now. Heaven's Horizon had been occupied by a male member of the demon-winged clan until Mo Zhantian ordered him to take care of him. His life had become better. I already know about the situation you mentioned. You also know about the war between the two clans. Now, you have no choice. If I want you to live, you will live. If I want you to die, you will die. If you do your job well, this seat will give you a chance to live. No matter what happens in the future, this seat will no longer make things difficult for you. After saying that, Mo Zhantian waved his hand and sent an energy imprint into the spirit sea of the Heaven's Horizon. Lord, I am already in this state. Actually, I don't care about life or death. What I want to ask is, what benefits can you give me? Heaven's Horizon's ruthless character was once again revealed. He was afraid of death, but he knew that the demon-winged clan needed him now. You still have the qualifications to ask for benefits? Fine. Say it. Mo Gentian smiled. Heaven's Horizon was just an ant in front of him. If he dared to talk nonsense with him at any other time, he would directly crush him to death. But now was a special time. He did not care about such details. I want a woman from the demon-winged clan to be my wife. Also, I will do something for you. In the future, you will not interfere with my life. Heaven's Horizon said. Fine. You just have to prepare to do what you need to do. If you succeed, then there will be no problems at all. If you fail, then you just have to wait for your death. Mo Gentian waved his hand and had his men bring Heaven's Horizon away. Heaven's Cliffs didn't have a high status in the celestial realm. He only knew about the Green Rock race. He didn't know much about the secrets of the 100 races in the celestial realm. Mo Gentian was too lazy to dig up more information. He didn't know as much as Mo Lu and the others in the celestial realm. Sir, can't you open up a space-time tunnel and send people over? Mo Lu, who had been standing at the side, asked. That won't do. The cultivation base of those who were sent over by the space-time passageway was not high enough to resolve the fundamental problem. Even if they managed to sneak into the 9 domains world, it would be difficult for them to accomplish anything. This time around, I'll head over personally, Mo Gentian said. My lord, this is too risky. His Excellency is in the Devil Imperial City. The Devil Imperial City is safe and His Excellency is safe. His Excellency is the pillar of the Devil-Winged clan. Mo Lu's face was filled with shock because Mo Gentian going to the celestial realm was equivalent to cutting off all means of retreat. Pillar. I'm now in the soul-uniting realm. The God-destroying tribulation is in front of me. You should know that in the past 2,000 reincarnations of our devil-winged clan, only one primogenitor came close to passing the God-destroying tribulation. Therefore, I can only plan for an era. In this era, I'll risk it all for the devil-winged clan. In the future, I'll still have to rely on the future generations, on you guys. Mo Gentian waved his hand and dismissed Mo Lu. Mo Gentian gave up on the reincarnation island. He planned to sneak into the Nirvana Oceanic Bridge. The 100 Races Alliance didn't pay much attention to the Nirvana Oceanic Bridge and didn't have much defense. The main defense of the 100 races in the celestial realm was the Tianhuang city. In Mo Gentian's plan, the most crucial point was whether Heaven's Cliffs could bring the spatial treasure into the Tianhuang city. This would determine the success or failure of his plan. After making his decision, Mo Gentian left. He had to make some arrangements and refine some treasures. There were many places in his plan that required the support of some treasures. After Tran Hung left, Night Sorrow fell into deep thought. It was mainly because of Tran Hung's words that he should pay more attention to the development of the 9-domain world. This had alerted him. The Devil-Winged clan had once sent a batch of people into the celestial realm. Therefore, there was a possibility that a second batch would enter and the attack wouldn't stop. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the defense of the 9-domain world. Those with a higher cultivation level than him wouldn't be able to enter, and those with a lower cultivation level would be killed if they entered. As for sneaking in and setting up a teleportation array, that wasn't realistic either. Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger had been watching the teleportation array area. Even if he wasn't there, the heavens sealing Great Hall's world origin was still there. If there was a life form that could threaten the world origin, it would be alerted. Night Sorrow wasn't worried about the 9-domain world. However, Night Sorrow was worried about the defense of Xingyue City. The defense was still relatively weak. If the Emperor's Tribulation cultivators went in, they wouldn't be able to withstand it and would be massacred. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow felt that the defense of Xingyue City should be strengthened. He couldn't split himself up. Night Sorrow's main body was cultivating, and his 9-domain doppelganger couldn't enter the celestial realm. After thinking about it, Night Sorrow didn't want to interrupt his main body's cultivation, so he could only send his doppelganger back first. After making some arrangements for the stronghold he was staying in, Yishang left. He had to prioritize the safety of his base. With the teleportation array, Night Sorrow left very quickly. Without the teleportation array, his flying speed was also very fast. When he arrived at the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Night Sorrow looked around and felt that there was no problem. He then returned to Tianhuang City. Without saying goodbye, Night Sorrow took the teleportation array back to Xingyue City. After looking at the original Great Array, Night Sorrow started to draw the array diagram. He wanted to set up the strongest defensive Great Array he could. He wanted to deal with the 9-domain world's portal and ensure the safety of Xingyue City to the greatest extent. The highest grade Great Array Night Sorrow had come into contact with was the unparalleled Great Array set up by Yan Wushuang. The unparalleled Great Array was extremely powerful. Low-level Emperor's Tribulation cultivators couldn't break it. It was also with the help of this Great Array that Yan Wushuang had been fighting with Mo Tianji for countless years. Night Sorrow's Array Dao cultivation wasn't any weaker than Yan Wushuang's. He had mastered the unparalleled Great Array, and he also had his own understanding of Array Dao. Drawing the array diagram was a troublesome matter. Night Sorrow had to constantly modify and perfect it. Qing Emperor, Tang Jianfeng, and the others didn't disturb Night Sorrow. After modifying and perfecting it bit by bit, it took Night Sorrow half a month to finish drawing the array diagram. The array diagram was drawn according to the terrain of Xingyue Island. In terms of level, it had already surpassed the unparalleled Great Array. Looking at the hashtag on the original TN chapter. After drawing the array diagram, Night Sorrow started to set up the array. At the crucial point, Night Sorrow used the Monarch Spirit Stone. Night Sorrow felt that since Xingyue City was the portal to the 9-domain world, it was worth it to pay a huge price. While Night Sorrow was busy, Mo Zhantian was refining the required treasures in the time-accelerated treasure. He then left Devil Imperial City and went to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Chapter 2177. After traversing more than half of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Mo Zhantian felt that it was time for him to make his move. However, in order to avoid risks, he continued to explore. When he discovered Night Sorrow's true body, Mo Zhantian's murderous intent surged. He really wanted to rush over and kill Night Sorrow, but he couldn't do that. He had to bear with it for the sake of the bigger picture. After retreating some distance, Mo Zhantian took out an awl. With a wave of his arm, he shot the awl into the depths of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. His body followed closely behind and entered the Nirvana Ocean Bridge as well. After reaching the depths of the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, Mo Zhantian controlled the pendant-shaped treasure to expand and slowly squeeze it upwards and downwards. As the owl's head was pushed upwards, a space was formed below. Mo Zhantian used his energy hand and pressed it in all directions, squeezing the walls of the space and making the space barrier sturdy. After an hour, a separate space was formed under the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Seeing that the space was big enough, Mo Zhantian set up a formation. This formation didn't affect the flow of energy and only had the effect of strengthening it. After the space was stabilized, Mo Zhantian set up a teleportation array. The teleportation array was inlaid with an imperial-grade teleportation crystal. It was a treasure of the demon-winged clan. There were only 2 of them in the entire clan. One was used to connect the demon imperial city to Tianhuang, while the other was used to connect the demon imperial city to the celestial realm. After the teleportation crystal lit up, Mo Zhantian knew that the teleportation array was working. He then inserted a spare teleportation crystal to connect to the celestial realm's teleportation array. After checking again to make sure there were no mistakes, Mo Zhantian took the teleportation array and returned to the demon imperial city. It was done. After Mo Zhantian returned to the demon imperial city, he knew that the teleportation array was successful. He also understood that simple meant high risk. During the teleportation, there would be energy fluctuations. If a cultivator happened to pass by, they would be discovered. However, this risk was unavoidable. He couldn't go to the reincarnation island, so this was the only way. In addition, the teleportation array on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge could only be used a few times. When teleporting to the celestial realm, the space-time tunnel would appear in the Tianhuang city. It would be easy to be discovered. Once discovered, the teleportation array on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge could be easily dug out. Once. What should I do if it's just once? Do I have to use a spatial treasure to bring everyone there? Mo Zhantian was in a dilemma. He had to make a plan if he was discovered to teleport once. After coming up with a plan, Mo Zhantian began to implement it. He called for Heaven's Cliffs again. The plan is about to be carried out. All you need to do is bring this spatial treasure across the heavenly desolate city and into the heavenly realm. No matter where it is, your mission will be completed. Your request will also be granted. If you fail, then die. Mo Zhantian's eyes flashed with killing intent as he spoke. Heaven's horizon bowed. He knew that this was the time for him to risk his life. If he succeeded, then he would live. If he failed, then he would have to accept his fate. Mo Lu, go gather the younger generation of our 100 Kings tribe. This time, I will bring them to the celestial realm. If we can enter the 9 regions world, it will be a long battle. After this era, I can't say what will happen. The future will be a matter for the younger generation. Mo Zhantian made the arrangements. Mo Lu nodded and went to make the arrangements. He knew that Mo Zhantian was prepared to cut off all means of retreat and carry out a big plan. If he succeeded, the Devil-Winged clan would welcome a new era. If he failed, the consequences would be disastrous. Mo Lu also understood that the Devil-Winged clan had to make a move. If they didn't change, the situation would become more and more passive. The cultivation environment and conditions of the Supreme World and the Sub-Supreme World were completely different. This was also the reason why the Demon Wing clan started the war. In the past 1,000 reincarnations, the Demon Wing clan wasn't left behind by the 100 races in the Celestial Realm because the Demon Imperial City had taken root in the Celestial Realm and occupied Tianhuang. The development environment of the Demon Wing clan and the Celestial Realm was the same. However, it was different after an era. The 100 races in the Celestial Realm could develop in the new Supreme World. The Demon Wing clan, who only developed in the Sub-Supreme World, couldn't compare. There was no longer any possibility of victory. Knight Sorrow's original body was cultivating. His doppelganger was in Xingyue City. This time, he paid a huge price. Knight Sorrow wanted to use this place as the 3rd layer of the Celestial Realm for defense. He wanted to increase the defensive strength to the same level as Tianhuang City and Shendu City. Qing Emperor, Tang Jianfeng, Lord of Heaven Shenhu and the others all felt the changes. The Origin Dao Lord of Heaven, or rather, the Origin Dao Emperor, was also in Xingyue City. He went to the Origin Dao Heavenly Inheritance Earth Origin Dao Island. However, the leader of the Origin Dao Island, Emperor Han Yang, didn't think much of him. Instead, he kept asking about the situation of the world of reincarnation and the amount of resources. This made him feel that they weren't the same kind of people. Therefore, he found a suitable place for cultivation. He raised his cultivation to the 9th level and returned to Xingyue City. The departure of the Yuan Dao Emperor made Emperor Han Yang very puzzled. How could a cultivator from the lower worlds be so unyielding? At the same time, he was a little angry because this was not giving him face. When the people he sent out reported the results of the investigation to him, Emperor Han Yang's face turned ugly. It could be said that it was very interesting. Translator, Timothy_editor, Globeglotter. Why? Because the Origin Dao Emperor came from the Primal Chaos Realm and Knight Sorrow was the domain lord of the Primal Chaos Realm. What did this mean? This meant that the Origin Dao Emperor was someone Knight Sorrow was familiar with. Emperor Han Yang smiled bitterly. He knew that he had unintentionally missed out on a lot of things. Although it was true that the Origin Dao Island wanted to develop and look for resources in the Primal Chaos Realm, he was blind to look for resources in the Primal Chaos Realm that Knight Sorrow belonged to. Besides, he also knew that his actions had made the Origin Dao Emperor lose his sense of belonging. While setting up the large array to rest, the Origin Tao Emperor went to Night Sorrow's side and brewed a pot of tea for Night Sorrow. Origin Tao Emperor, didn't you return to the primal chaos realm? Little Luo and the rest are cultivating in the 9-domain city, Night Sorrow said after sitting down. Domain Lord, I plan to change my title. I don't want the 2 words Origin Tao anymore, the Origin Tao Emperor said. Why? Night Sorrow asked, puzzled. The Origin Tao Heavenly of the world of reincarnation will no longer have anything to do with the Origin Tao Island of the celestial realm. The Origin Tao Emperor sighed. After being stunned for a moment, Night Sorrow asked. He knew that something must have happened. The Origin Tao Emperor did not hide anything from Night Sorrow and told him everything that had happened. We don't have to share anything with each other. Since we're not on the same side, then forget it. There's nothing to worry about. It's good to change your title. They need resources, so we don't blame them. But please don't have any ideas about our primal chaos region. If they cause trouble for you, you can come and find me, said Yishang. Chapter 2178. He probably investigated me and the situation in the primal chaos realm and found out about our relationship. That's why he came to see you. I really look down on him, said the Yuan Dao Emperor. Night Sorrow smiled. Then forget it. There's no need to see him. We don't make things difficult for anyone, but we don't make friends with everyone. Ghost Monkey, go back and tell him that you didn't find me. Ghost Monkey bowed to Night Sorrow and left the Star Moon City. The Yuan Dao Emperor asked about Night Sorrow's title. He hoped that Night Sorrow would help him choose a suitable title. There's no need to maintain the relationship between the Yuan Dao Celestial Realm and the Yuan Dao Island. That's a new force. You'll be the first generation. How about you call yourself the Primal Emperor? Night Sorrow thought for a while and suggested a new title. The Yuan Dao Emperor stood up and cupped his fists to Night Sorrow. Thank you, Domain Lord, for the title. I'll accept the title of Primal Emperor. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that the Primal Emperor had resolved a problem. The Primal Emperor might be able to tolerate being looked down on, but he definitely wouldn't tolerate his hometown being targeted. Night Sorrow could understand because he was the same kind of person. Emperor Han Yang, who was waiting in the Night Moon Manor, shook his head helplessly after hearing Ghost Monkey's reply. He knew that the Yuan Dao Emperor's line was broken. He couldn't use this line to connect with Night Sorrow and the 9-domain world. Emperor Han Yang felt that it was a pity. The 9-domain world was a supreme world. It was already public knowledge in the celestial realm. If he could connect with it, there would be room for development. Who knew that the primal chaos realm and the 9-domain world were the same force? Can you blame me for being blind? After leaving the Night Moon Manor, Emperor Han Yang scolded himself and sighed. He still had some worries in his heart. It was fine if he couldn't connect with the Primal Emperor, but if he attracted the hostility of the primal chaos realm, he would be done for. Version 3E was released. Night Sorrow was constantly perfecting the array. He still planned to go to the Heaven Desolate Mountain to play. He already treated the peak of the Heaven Desolate Mountain as his territory. Monarch Yuanshu had studied Array Dao, but his level was too low. His cultivation base was too low, and his soul power was insufficient. This resulted in him being unable to set up many Array Dao. When Night Sorrow was setting up the Array Dao, Monarch Yuanshu watched from the side. Because it was a composite array formation, Night Sorrow would also explain some of the principles of array formation when setting up a single array formation. If he couldn't understand it, the Yuanshu Emperor would record it down. This was the truth of the formation path. In the future, it would bring him different insights in the cultivation of the formation path. Qing Emperor, Heavenly Monarch Shenhu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others often came to look for Night Sorrow to drink. They also asked for guidance on some difficult cultivation problems. Night Sorrow was not stingy with his guidance at all. He hoped that the primal chaos realm would rise again. Night Sorrow took a sip of wine and said, "Uncle Tang, Heavenly Monarch Shenhu, when you have nothing to do, you can go out and walk around the celestial realm. You have been stuck at the Heavenly Monarch realm for many years. In the past, the primal chaos realm was restricted by the Heavenly Tao's rules and couldn't become great emperors. Now that the rules are no longer there, you have to find your own opportunities and walk your own path. Tang Jianfeng smiled and said, the celestial realm is more stable now. It's not a problem for us to go out and walk around. In the past, the celestial realm was so chaotic. If we went out, we would easily be captured and forced to do manual labor. There are very few such vicious forces nowadays. Don't go causing trouble. If there's any trouble, just back off. If there's any danger, just report that I'm from the primal chaos realm and my name. That way, you shouldn't be in too much danger, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Heavenly Monarch Shenhu said, the name of the realm lord should be able to avoid some danger. The main thing is that we don't meet those who don't care about anything and directly kill us to silence us. Heavenly Monarch Shenhu said, Shenhu, this kind of thing almost never happens. Everyone has a doppelganger. If you kill the original body, the news will still be leaked. Moreover, with the existence of divination, people usually don't kill people to silence them. Qing Emperor said with a smile. Yes, to be able to suppress you, it must be a cultivator above the 9th level. Cultivators above the 9th level have all been through a lot. They won't bring death to themselves just to kill people they don't have any enmity with. Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Heavenly Monarch Shenhu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others nodded. They all understood. After drinking, Knight Sorrow watched Heavenly Monarch Shenhu, Tang Jianfeng, and the others leave and shook his head. Knight Sorrow, do you feel that something is wrong? Qing Emperor asked. Knight Sorrow looked at Qing Emperor and Heavenly Monarch Yuan Shu and said, a cultivator must have a fearless heart. But if you are afraid, it will not be good for your state of mind. Yes. Because everyone is living too comfortably, they have lost their drive to improve. Later on, we have to gather together to discuss this. Qing Emperor sighed. Some things only needed to be pointed out by others and everyone would understand. In fact, some people in the chaos realm were living too comfortably. They had lost their drive to be brave. This was what Knight Sorrow wanted to say but couldn't. But now, Qing Emperor said it out loud. They didn't bring this topic up again. Yishang drank half a jar of wine and continued to set up the matrix. As for whether everyone would cultivate peacefully or advance bravely, everyone's choice was different. That was enough for him to say. A month later, Knight Sorrow finished setting up the city defense array of Xingyue City. Then, Knight Sorrow went to Night Moon Villa and told them that if anyone attacked, they were to activate the array of Night Moon Villa immediately. Then, they would retreat to Xingyue City and take out the teleportation crystals. Then, Yishang rushed to Heavenly Desolate City. At this time, Heaven's Horizon appeared on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and flew towards Tianhuang City. There was a bronze hairpin in his bun. That was Mo Zhantian's spatial treasure. Mo Zhantian's plan had now officially come into contact with the Celestial Realm's 100 races. The success of his plan mainly depended on whether Heaven's Horizon could return to the Celestial Realm's 100 races alliance. As long as Heaven's Horizon was allowed to enter Tianhuang City and return to the Celestial Realm, his plan would succeed. When Heaven's Horizon appeared in the range of Mo Zhantian's soul power, Knight Sorrow stood up from the Haotian Godly Pagoda and released his precept domain to block Heaven's Horizon. He found it strange because he had been in Tianhuang City for so long. When he flew back and forth in the Tianhuang Mountains to search for traces of the demon-winged clan, there was no news about Heaven's Horizon. What's wrong? I was exiled. I have the ability to return. Are you still going to stop me? Heaven's Horizon was blocked by Knight Sorrow. His eyes were full of anger because the scene of Knight Sorrow hitting him with the golden brick was still in his mind. It was also because he was exiled that he suffered some humiliation. Who said you were exiled? Knight Sorrow pulled out the blood-Chilan evil-slaying spear from his back. Back then, you abandoned me outside the gates of Nirvana City. That was the end of the grudge between us. Today, I came back because of my abilities. If you want to kill me, you have to be able to shut everyone up. You have to be morally upright. Heaven's Horizon said as he looked at the Heaven Wasteland army flying over. Chapter 2179. I was wrong in the past, but I paid the price. Everyone saw it. Killing people is just a small matter. What else do you want? Heaven's Horizon's words were sharp, but his eyes were not firm enough. He looked around, trying to find someone to speak for him. Night Sorrow stood there, and the Heaven Wasteland army stood behind him, waiting for orders. If Night Sorrow ordered to capture him, they would immediately capture Heaven's Horizon. Alliance Master. Pu Luo and the Great Demon King rushed over after being notified by the guards at the gate of Nirvana City. He's back. He feels that he has paid the price. He thinks that I can't make things difficult for him, so he wants to tie me up with morality. Night Sorrow smiled. He was almost certain that there was something wrong with Heaven's Horizon. Normally, Heaven's Horizon would fly into a rage when he saw him. Alliance Master, there's something wrong with him. He must hate me, but now he doesn't even look at me. Pu Luo's soul transmitted to Night Sorrow's spirit sea. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation, Heaven's Horizon, you're not smart because you don't know who I am. When I do something, I don't find a reason to do it. Capture him. Night Sorrow waved his arm and gave the order. Heaven's Horizon was an imperial emperor, so how could he resist? He was directly suppressed by the Great Demon King's precept domain and knelt on the ground. Then, 2 soldiers of the Heaven Wasteland army came forward and pressed his shoulders, then took out a secret chain to tie him up. Pu Luo, there must be something wrong with him. There must be a member of the Demon Wing clan in his spatial treasure. We can't be sure how high the cultivation level of that member is, so we must first stabilize the situation. I will send someone to inform my master, Marshal Kingya, to come here. Yi Shang and Pu Luo communicated via soul transmission. Pu Luo did not say anything, nor did he respond to Night Sorrow. He stepped forward and grabbed the chain that bound Heaven's Horizon, slowly pulling him toward Heaven Wasteland City. At this time, Night Sorrow's doppelganger was already teleporting to Shendu City. If it was a personal matter, Night Sorrow would have directly taken action, but now he had to be careful. Night Sorrow put away the clear sky pagoda and chatted with Pu Luo. At the same time, the two of them were still communicating with their soul powers. The reason why he thought that there was something wrong with Heaven's Horizon was because it was unreasonable for Heaven's Horizon to stay in Infinite Wasteland for such a long time. He had slept for 700 years. What was the Heaven's Horizon doing during these 700 years? Has he been hiding in Infinite Wasteland all this time? If he has been hiding in Infinite Wasteland, why didn't he come back when the city gate was always open? The most likely possibility was that Heaven's Horizon had been captured by the Demon Wing clan. Now, he had become a spy for the Demon Wing clan and had some missions to complete. Pu Luo agreed with Night Sorrow's analysis. His idea was the same as Night Sorrow's. They would first stabilize Heaven's Horizon and wait for King Yowu to arrive. Then, they would slowly investigate what Heaven's Horizon was carrying. Night Sorrow and Pu Luo's soul powers had already locked onto Heaven's Horizon's surroundings. Night Sorrow had also informed the Great Demon King to prepare for battle at any time. After entering Infinite Wasteland City, Heaven's Horizon was much more relaxed because his mission was almost complete. As long as he threw away the hairpin on his head when no one was paying attention, his character would be finished. Night Sorrow, Pu Luo, and the Great Demon King were very calm. Heaven's Horizon was also very calm. However, Mo Zhantian was not. His soul powers in the space treasure did not move, but the soul powers in Heaven's Horizon Spirit Sea were observing everything. He was sure that Night Sorrow and the others did not trust Heaven's Horizon. Now, they were moving forward slowly to buy time. He had to think of a way. Mo Zhantian controlled the soul powers he left in Heaven's Horizon Spirit Sea to vibrate. He triggered the wind energy and messed up Heaven's Horizon's hair, causing the hairpin to fall to the ground. Heaven's Horizon naturally knew all of this was Imo Gentian's method. He stepped hard on the hairpin and continued moving forward. Night Sorrow stopped and picked up the hairpin. Although you have a bad record, you are still a descendant of the Divine Beast clan. I don't want you to be too embarrassed. Clean up yourself later. Night Sorrow gently tossed the hairpin back into Heaven's Horizon's arms. In Night Sorrow's eyes, everything on Heaven's Horizon was within his range. If Heaven's Horizon wanted to throw something away, he would naturally throw it back to Heaven's Horizon. This small disturbance also made Night Sorrow certain that the problem was with the hairpin. It was true that the sea breeze in Infinite Wasteland City was strong, but as an emperor, how could Heaven's Horizon let the sea breeze mess up his hair? It was obvious that something was wrong with the hairpin falling. Heaven's Horizon, I won't put the blame on you, but your character is low. I won't allow you to jump around in Infinite Wasteland City. Later, I will ask someone from your Green Rock clan to come and take you away. You will completely scram and never appear in Infinite Wasteland City again. Night Sorrow clapped his hands and said after throwing the hairpin back into Heaven's Horizon's arms. Night Sorrow's words were not for Heaven's Horizon, but for the people in the hairpin space. He wanted to calm them down. He wasn't sure who was in the space treasure. If either Imo Gentian or Imo Yutian were there, it would be big trouble. If the cultivators of the tribulation of the 9 emperors were to attack, no one would be able to stop them. The only ones who could stop them were the 3 giants of the celestial realm. Of course, Imo Tianji of the 9 domains world could also do it, but she wouldn't fight against the demon-winged clan. Imo Gentian, who had originally planned to attack immediately, narrowed his eyes and pondered. He didn't know if Night Sorrow's last sentence was true. If it was true, then attacking now would be equivalent to wasting a great opportunity. If Heaven's Horizon could really be taken away by the Green Rock clan, then he would be able to sneak into the celestial realm without being discovered. He would then be targeted and defended. However, Imo Gentian felt that Night Sorrow's words weren't very trustworthy, because from the beginning to the end, Heaven's Horizon hadn't been treated well. Between believing and not believing, Imo Gentian was conflicted. He was also conflicted about whether he should attack or not. Night Sorrow was also worried. He also knew that his opponent wouldn't necessarily believe his words, but they would definitely consider and hesitate. This hesitation was what Night Sorrow needed. His doppelganger had already arrived at the Heaven Desolate Mountain and was telling King Yawu that he would be here soon. Heaven's Horizon was very happy to hear Night Sorrow's words. He felt that things would go smoothly. As long as no one attacked him now, he would be able to wait until the Green Rock clan's people came to pick him up. At that time, his crisis would be completely resolved. Not only would there be no danger, but he could also have fun with a woman from the Demon-Winged clan. Heaven's Horizon moved forward. Pu Luo followed Night Sorrow's instructions and carried the chain that bound Heaven's Horizon to the Heaven Wasteland Tower. When they were near the tower and King Yawu arrived, then it would be time to turn hostile. Pu Luo and the Great Demon King were also very nervous. The Great Demon King waved his hand and signaled the rest of the Heaven Wasteland army to leave. He was worried that a battle between experts would hurt the innocent. Chapter 2180. With a shake of his body, Imo Gentian appeared in front of Heaven's Horizon and stared at Night Sorrow. Drag him to the back and kill him. Night Sorrow gave the order after glancing at Heaven's Horizon, which Pu Luo had thrown to the commander of the Heaven Wasteland army. Night Sorrow. I didn't expect you to be so cautious. But so what? You're just an ant. Imo Gentian released his soul power and found that the 3 giants of the celestial realm were not in Heaven Wasteland City, so he knew that things would go smoothly. He's an ant? Night Sorrow cultivated to the tribulation of the 4 emperors for more than 1,000 years. What was your cultivation when you were 1,000 years old? You're probably worse than an ant. You're trash. Lin Piao Miao appeared beside Night Sorrow. You'll all die later. Mo Gentian turned around and flew toward the teleportation formation. He planned to destroy it first so that the three giants of the celestial realm would not be able to come to his aid in time. Descend. Night Sorrow waved his arm and the Heaven Wasteland Tower shone brightly, suppressing Mo Gentian who was about to fly. After the light descended, Mo Gentian's flying speed slowed down. The Heaven Wasteland Tower was the divine weapon of the 100 races of the celestial realm. It had stood in Heaven Wasteland City for countless years and was extremely powerful. Night Sorrow used the origin of the world to activate it, so Mo Gentian's flying speed was limited. Destructive True Dragon Incantation. Night Sorrow attacked. He had to restrain Mo Gentian at this time. If Mo Gentian destroyed the teleportation formation, it would be difficult for his doppelganger and King Yowu to come. Kill. Pu Luo attacked Mo Gentian directly. The Great Demon King and Lin Piaomiao also moved. This was a critical moment. Even if they died, they had to control Mo Gentian. Mo Gentian was shocked. He did not expect Night Sorrow to be able to control the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He knew the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda well. It was the #1 divine tool of the 100 races in the celestial realm. Originally, it was controlled by Tran Hung, but now, it was controlled by Night Sorrow. Its power was greatly suppressed. With a muffled sound, Pu Luo was pushed back by Mo Gentian. Pu Luo was a 4 Emperor's Tribulation cultivator. Even though Mo Gentian's strength was suppressed, he was not someone he could fight against. He was injured in one move. Yo! Yo! After repelling Pu Luo, Mo Gentian's forward momentum was also restrained. Then, he brandished his longsword towards Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd. As the weapons clashed, there was an explosion of energy. Night Sorrow was also pushed back. The negative effect of the destructive True Dragon Incantation did not have any effect. Mo Gentian's protection precept domain attacked in all directions. Night Sorrow's soul power was directly dispersed. At this time, Lin Piaomiao and the Great Demon King's attacks also arrived. They were not as strong as Night Sorrow and Pu Luo, so they were directly pushed back. Mo Gentian, you dare to come to the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda? Die. The Golden Dragon King appeared and waved his long sword towards Mo Gentian. Night Sorrow floated back. He separated his right and left arms that were holding the spear. Then, he swung his spear downwards. A circular light circle appeared at the top of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, and then bombarded Mo Gentian. This was the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda gathering the power of the world to attack Mo Gentian. The celestial realm's origin reincarnated. Although the celestial realm did not have its origin, it still had the power of the world. After all, it was a supreme world, so its attack power was very violent. Mo Gentian felt threatened. His body flashed, and he dodged the thunderous attack of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Following the explosion, a bottomless crater appeared where Mo Gentian had been standing. After the energy dispersed, it gathered and pressed down on Mo Gentian once more. Not good. Mo Gentian felt that this was not good. The power of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda controlled by Night Sorrow was too strong. Not only did the attack power threaten his safety, but the continuous suppression of the energy was also causing his strength to decrease. Now, the attack power he displayed was only at the level of an 8 Emperor's Tribulation. Kill Night Sorrow first, then break the teleportation array. The energy waves on Mo Gentian's body violently surged in all directions, forcing all the people attacking him to retreat. Then, he rushed towards Night Sorrow with rolling momentum. His speed was extremely fast. As a cultivator of the soul fusion realm, even if he was suppressed, his combat power was still extremely terrifying. Void Step, Space-Time Realm. Night Sorrow used the 2 ultimate skills and entered a different space to avoid Mo Gentian's attack. When his attack missed, Mo Gentian recalled the time when he fought with Night Sorrow's doppelganger to save Mo Tianji. Night Sorrow's movement technique and defense were outstanding. It was difficult to kill him. If this continued, the giants of the celestial realm would rush back. At that time, with the suppression of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, he would be in danger. Leave. Mo Gentian knew that the most important thing now was to leave. Mo Gentian's protection precept domain surged in all directions. He then slashed with his sword. He wanted to create an energy passage to leave the Heaven Wasteland city. Intercept, suppress. Night Sorrow ordered. At the same time, he continued to mobilize the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to suppress Mo Gentian. Night Sorrow knew that this was a crisis, but it was also an opportunity. If he could stop Mo Gentian, not only would the crisis be resolved, but it would also be an opportunity to deal a heavy blow to the demon-winged clan. Hearing Night Sorrow's order, the Golden Dragon King, Pu Luo, Lin Piaomiao, and the Great Demon King all moved to intercept Mo Gentian. The Golden Dragon King and the others were repelled time and time again. This was because the suppression of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda under Night Sorrow's control was strong. Although Mo Gentian was strong, he could not kill him. At most, he could only injure him. Mo Gentian, you can't do whatever you want. You want to commit murder in the heart of the celestial realm. Perhaps this will be the beginning of your decline. Night Sorrow's body kept moving. His soul power mobilized the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to bombard Mo Gentian. Even if the attacks missed, they would not be wasted. After they gathered, they would suppress Mo Gentian. You can't do whatever you want either. Mo Gentian was shocked. Like Mo Tianji, he also collected the power of faith. He understood the virtuous monarchs of the celestial realm. He knew what it meant to obey orders. The words of the virtuous monarchs were often the truth. It was not an exaggeration to say that their words were golden. Haha. Let's give it a try then. Night Sorrow looked at Mo Gentian's serious expression and knew that his words had a great impact on Mo Gentian. The energy kept colliding and rolling. The battle between a few Emperor Tribulation cultivators and a Soul Unification cultivator was destructive. Even the sputtering energy could kill emperors and monarchs. Fortunately, the energy of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda was restraining it, so it did not cause too much harm. I'm not going to play with you guys today. The next time we meet, I'll take your lives one by one. Demon King 9 slashes. After Mo Gentian finished speaking, he pointed the long sword in his hand to the sky. Then, he slashed forward. He had used his ultimate skill. He wanted to kill his way out of the Heaven Wasteland city. This was not just his personal matter. There were many young elites of the demon-winged clan in his spatial treasure. He could not afford to lose them. Chapter 2181. Mo Gentian's expression changed drastically. After slashing out with his sword, he held it with both hands and roared, heart and sword as one. With a roar, Mo Gentian's body and the long sword became one. The long sword was so bright that it was almost impossible to look at it directly. Then, it shot out of the area controlled by the Wasteland Tower. Slash. Night Sorrow roared. Countless energy blades formed at the tip of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda and slashed at Mo Gentian's sword. B, L, S, ding, ding, ding. A series of crisp sounds rang out. Several Heaven Wasteland blades slashed at Mo Gentian's sword, causing a string of blood to fall from the sky. Mo Gentian's speed had increased after using the heart and sword as one technique, but his defense had decreased. He had been injured by the Sky Desolation blade that contained the power of the Heavenly Way, the power of origin, and the power of virtue. Suppress. Night Sorrow roared again. A halo appeared on the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda once again and pressed down on Mo Gentian's sword. However, the effect was not good. Mo Gentian's heart and sword as one technique had a small surface area and was still very fast. Heavenly Spear Art. Night Sorrow used his secret technique again. He used the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda's energy to draw in the energy of heaven and earth. He used Yi Tianxin's secret technique, Heavenly Spear Art. Heaven and earth changed color. Night Sorrow used his secret technique without caring about the cost. This consumed 30% of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda's energy. With King Yawu's arrival, Night Sorrow no longer had to worry about the defense. Countless golden spear lights appeared in the sky above the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Damn it! Mo Gentian's sword of light incarnation let out an angry roar. Then, as he flew, he activated his energy to defend himself. He knew that Night Sorrow's move was too powerful. If he didn't defend himself, the consequences would be unimaginable. Kill! Night Sorrow waved his arm and guided the heavenly spear light towards Mo Gentian's heart and sword as fast as lightning. The sound of explosions rang out continuously. Mo Gentian's incarnation of the heart sword was continuously bombarded, and the light gradually weakened. At the same time, blood flowed out continuously. He had already been injured by the heavenly spear light, and his injuries were quite severe. Well done. Let's see where you can run to today. King Yawu arrived. He was furious because Mo Gentian had launched a sneak attack and bullied a junior. Night Sorrow's face was pale. That all-out attack had wasted a large amount of his soul power. However, he knew that Mo Gentian was not feeling well either. Even if it was not a serious injury, Mo Gentian's strength had been greatly reduced. Night Sorrow, Mo Gentian, will definitely kill you. After Mo Gentian received the attack, his speed increased. After the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda released its full-strength attack, the restraining power on him was not much, and his speed also increased. We'll talk about it when you're alive. King Yawu chased after Mo Gentian. His soul power had already locked onto Mo Gentian. He wouldn't let Mo Gentian leave just like that. Mo Gentian's heart sword was extremely fast. Night Sorrow and the others did not chase after him because they could not catch up. Sect Elder Lin mobilized the resources of the Elders Association and filled the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Night Sorrow ordered. At the same time, he crushed Tran Hung's soul crystal. He was worried that Mo Yutian would also attack, and he would not be able to defend himself in his current state. Those bastards of the Demon-Winged clan, what are they trying to do? Are they going all out? Pu Luo and the others came to Night Sorrow's side. In the last era, everyone will show their abilities. The Demon-Winged clan is naturally going all out, Night Sorrow said. Night Sorrow, how many Saint Spirit stones do you need? Lin Piaomiao came to Night Sorrow's side and asked. No need, I'll think of a way myself. The Elders Association should be responsible for the resources of the Heaven Wasteland Army first. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow did not plan to use the resources of the Elders Association. The resources of the Elders Association are not a problem. In order to prepare for the war, we have a lot of resources. I'll go fill it up now. With that, Sect Elder Qin entered the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. Alliance leader, don't we need to think of a way? The Great Demon King asked. We can't help in the battle between the tribulation of the 9 emperors and the cultivators of the syncretic soul realm. But don't worry, Mo Gentian won't have an advantage in the hands of Martial Uncle King Yawu. Night Sorrow shook his head. Night Sorrow knew that Martial Uncle King Yawu's original battle strength was above Mo Gentian's and Mo Yutian's. After the syncretic soul realm, Martial Uncle King Yawu's advantage was even more obvious. In addition, Mo Gentian had already been injured by a full-strength attack from the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. After the battle ended, Night Sorrow's original body and doppelganger did not leave. They stayed near the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda and watched the Elders Association clean up the battlefield. The battle had blown up the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda, and now it needed to be cleaned and repaired. Although we expected the Heavens Cliffs to be a spy and that there would be experts coming, the situation is still very shocking, Pu Luo said. Night Sorrow nodded. The development of the situation was a little different from what he had expected. In his expectation, he would first stabilize the opponent in the spatial treasure of the Heavens Cliffs and wait for Martial Uncle King Yawu to arrive. Then, he would use the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda to help and finish off the enemy. He did not expect Mo Gentian to not have any wishful thinking and to fight directly, which led to some changes in the situation. But the result was still good. Mo Zhantian was injured, which created more opportunities for Martial Uncle King Yawu. Pay attention to the defense first. But with Mo Zhantian's appearance, there are still many experts of the Demon Wing clan. Knight Sorrow felt that they had to stabilize the situation first. After an hour, Tran Hung came back. After listening to Knight Sorrow's report, he nodded. Well done. Let me take a look at the memory crystal ball and see how much strength he has after being injured. Tran Hung flew into the air and took a crystal ball from the third pagoda. This memory crystal ball will be activated after receiving a certain amount of energy impact. After looking at the image in the memory crystal ball, Tran Hung said, Mo Zhantian's injuries are not light. The forbidden energy you used to control the sky drawing spear technique has already injured his life source, which will affect his combat strength. He escaped in the direction of the celestial realm, so he should have other plans. City Lord, do you have any ideas and arrangements? Knight Sorrow asked. What do you think is appropriate? What ideas do you have? Tran Hung looked at Knight Sorrow and asked. Mo Zhantian came to the celestial realm to make plans in the celestial realm. So we have to control him. We can't plant a bomb in the celestial realm. The only one left who can threaten us is Mo Yutian. In the celestial realm, only the City Lord and the Grand Elder can stop him. The Grand Elder will stay at the Samsara Island and don't move for now. Summon the Supreme Elders of the Divine Beast clan to the Celestial Desolate City to guard against the second wave of attacks from the Demon Wing clan. If Mo Zhantian appears, there will be experts of the Divine Beast clan to hold him off. Then we can inform the Grand Elder to come back. Knight Sorrow said. Chapter 2182. In the war between the Celestial Realm and the Demon-Winged clan, aside from defensive measures and so on, the main difference in power was in the realm of peak cultivators. If they could kill a 9 Emperor Tribulation cultivator, then they would be able to pull apart the advantage. Just like now, if Knight Sorrow had not subdued Mo Tianji and the 3 9 Emperor Tribulation cultivators of the Demon-Winged clan attacked together, then the Celestial Realm's 100 clans would be in great danger. The 3 giants of the Celestial Realm's 100 clans would have to defend Tianhuang City. In the past, the Demon-Winged clan had launched several large-scale attacks. Before Mo Tianji and Yan Wushuang clashed, the Celestial Realm's 2 cities had 4 experts, and the Demon-Winged clan had no advantage. After Mo Tianji and Yan Wushuang fought, the Demon-Winged clan's peak experts were still 1 less than the Celestial Realm's 100 clans, and they did not have the power to break through Tianhuang City. Afterwards, Mo Tianji returned to Devil Imperial City, but she lost her original body. Her power was greatly reduced, and she did not have the power to attack. Mo Tianji became one of Yishang's subordinates. The Demon-Winged clan had even less power to attack. Tran Hung left, and Knight Sorrow hurriedly arranged for people to set up defenses. At the same time, he ordered the City Lord's mansion to prepare for battle, urging the experts of each Divine Beast clan to come. Other than the Golden Dragon King who was originally in Tianhuang City, the Council of Elders notified the Heavenly Astral King, Huang Ling, Blood Qilin King, Ancestor Green Rock, and the Black Tortoise King who had returned to their clans. When the Council of Elders asked Knight Sorrow whether or not to notify the White Tiger King, Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and shook his head. The White Tiger constellation has always been sealed, so we will not disturb them for now. If Mo Yutian comes, our current power can contain and hold him back. We can hold out until the Grand Elder returns. Great Commander, when I returned to the clan during that time, the clan elder asked about Tianhuang City. He is very concerned about Tianhuang City, so it is appropriate for him to come now. Lin Chuan said. Let him come. After not seeing each other for so many years, we should gather. This is already the last era of the Celestial Realm. He should not always lie down in the White Tiger territory. The Golden Dragon King spoke. After everything was arranged, Knight Sorrow checked the situation of the Heaven Wasteland Pagoda. He found that Qin Qianjia had added 2 million Saint Spirit stones to the pagoda. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow went to the core of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. With 1,000 Emperor Spirit Stones as the foundation and an Emperor Spirit Stone as the core, he set up a spirit gathering array to gather energy. This way, the offensive and defensive capabilities of the Heaven Wasteland Tower were raised to another level. Then, Night Sorrow changed the Spirit Stones in the base of the defensive array around the Heaven Wasteland Tower and used the Monarch Spirit Stone. As the level of the formation increased, the practitioners in the Heavenly Desolate City all sensed the change, because the sky above the Heavenly Desolate City was filled with surging energy. The Golden Dragon King came to find Night Sorrow. Seeing that Night Sorrow was still constantly perfecting the defensive array, he understood everything. Monarch Spirit Stone. Seeing that Night Sorrow was continuously taking out Spirit Stones, the Golden Dragon King's eyes were full of shock. After Night Sorrow finished changing an array foundation, he clapped his hands and asked the Golden Dragon King, "It's a Monarch Spirit Stone. I also changed the core area for an Emperor Spirit Stone. Do you want it?" "Yes, we'll play with them together," the Golden Dragon King said. Night Sorrow took out a small bag of Monarch Spirit Stones and Emperor Spirit Stones and handed them to the Golden Dragon King. "I'm just playing with them. You need them in many places." The Golden Dragon King reached out and only took one. With a smile, Night Sorrow took out another Emperor Spirit Stone and threw it to the Golden Dragon King. "This is not bad. It's equivalent to a pile of Emperor Spirit Stones. I can't bear to use it." Holding the Emperor Spirit Stone, the Golden Dragon King was stunned. He had never heard of the Emperor Spirit Stone. The Emperor Spirit Stone was a legendary item. "This is good stuff. There are only a few pieces in the world." Night Sorrow looked at the dazed Golden Dragon King and said, "Night Sorrow, isn't this a little too precious?" The Golden Dragon King looked at Night Sorrow and asked. He knew that this Emperor Spirit Stone was equivalent to hundreds of Emperor Spirit Stones. It couldn't be exchanged. It was like how a piece of top-grade Saint Spirit Stone could be exchanged for 100 Saint Spirit Stones, but 100 Saint Spirit Stones couldn't be exchanged for a piece of top-grade Saint Spirit Stone. "Play with it. Don't you dragons like shiny things? This is not bad." Night Sorrow smiled. The Golden Dragon King smiled at Night Sorrow and didn't say anything more. Night Sorrow changed the array around the Heaven Wasteland Tower and felt a lot more at ease. In the past, the array's power could injure Mo Gentian. Now, the array's power had at least doubled. If Mo Yutian attacked, not only was he confident that he could defend Heaven Wasteland City, he could also injure Mo Yutian. Night Sorrow, back in Jean Capital, that move of yours was very domineering. What was it called? The Golden Dragon King put away the Emperor Spirit Stone and asked. The reincarnation spear technique of the sky drawing spear technique isn't that powerful. It was executed with the help of the Heaven Wasteland Tower. Back then, I could only use that level of attack 2 to 3 times. I only dared to use it when I found out that Martial Uncle was here. Night Sorrow said. He knew that he wasn't strong enough. If he was stronger, then the power of the Heaven Wasteland Tower's attack and suppression would be much stronger. Then, Mo Gentian wouldn't be able to leave so easily. He would be suppressed and wouldn't be able to escape once he entered Heaven Wasteland City. It's powerful enough. That means that Mo Gentian's cultivation is at the soul unification realm. He's indeed strong. If he was at the 7th Emperor Tribulation and 8th Emperor Tribulation, he wouldn't be able to escape. The Golden Dragon King said. The 9th Emperor Tribulation and the soul unification realm is the strongest realm we know of. It's not that easy to suppress. Night Sorrow shook his head. Some things were true. Mo Gentian's strength was undeniable. Q plus K plus K. Let's go. The 9th Emperor Tribulation and the Soul Unification Realm are the strongest realms below the God-destroying tribulation. A few of them will appear in every reincarnation cycle. Being able to injure Mo Gentian is already a great achievement. I wonder how the battle between King Yawu and Mo Gentian is going. However, if Mo Zhantian only runs away and doesn't fight, it will be very difficult to kill him. After all, there's no difference between the two realms, the Golden Dragon King said. He was talking about a common phenomenon among cultivators. In a situation where the difference in combat strength wasn't too big, it was easy to defeat and run away. However, it was difficult to kill. In order to kill, one must have the ability to suppress the opponent. King Yawu was a giant of the 100 clans of the celestial realm. However, Mo Zhantian was also one of the 3 greatest heavens of the demon-winged clan. His combat strength was obvious to all. Therefore, the Golden Dragon King was very worried about the battle between King Yawu and Mo Zhantian. I've thought about this before. The city lord has also thought about it. That's why we're rushing over. What I'm worried about now is that Mo Zhantian must have a backup plan. He won't let the city lord and my uncle master form a joint attack, Knight Sorrow said. Mo Zhantian only has 2 choices. One is to run back to the demon imperial city. The other is that his speed is much faster than King Yawu's and he can shake King Yawu off. Then, he can hide. However, this should be very difficult, right? The Golden Dragon King said. Chapter 2183. Mo Zhantian didn't want to fight, so he and King Yawu were in a chase. Mo Zhantian and King Yawu were old rivals. The two of them had fought more than once. Both sides knew that Mo Zhantian wasn't a match for King Yawu in the past. Now, there was still a difference between Mo Zhantian's 2 bodies and King Yawu's 3 bodies. There were still advantages and disadvantages. In addition, Mo Zhantian was already injured, and his combat power was reduced. He was already at a disadvantage before the fight even started. What annoyed Mo Zhantian the most was that the reincarnation energy that Knight Sorrow left in his body was still hurting him. In the Demon Wing clan, there were only 2 outstanding cultivators with the supreme attribute. Only 2 of them had cultivated the taboo attribute. One was Mo Tianji, and the other was him. He cultivated the beginning attribute, which was a mid-level one. Therefore, he couldn't suppress the high-level reincarnation energy that Knight Sorrow left in his body. Mo Zhantian, this is your mistake. How long can you run? You dare to run into the celestial realm? You are courting death. King Yawu was clear about Mo Zhantian's situation. He knew that as long as he didn't give Mo Zhantian time to recover, Mo Zhantian would be the first to collapse. High-level cultivators had deep cultivation, and their bodies contained a lot of energy. However, flying at high speed consumed a lot of energy. In addition, after Mo Zhantian was injured, his unstable aura couldn't be hidden from King Yawu. King Yawu also saw Knight Sorrow's sky-drawing spear art attack injuring Mo Zhantian. Mo Zhantian didn't reply. He naturally knew that this was a crisis for him. Knight Sorrow's reincarnation energy was destroying his body. He had to use energy to suppress it. Under such circumstances, flying at full speed consumed more energy than King Yawu. He would be the first to collapse. In addition, this was the Celestial Realm's territory. Soon, Tran Hung and the Grand Elder would join forces with King Yawu to kill him. In war, personal pride and honor were secondary. Everything was for the sake of winning the war. The higher-ups of the Celestial Realm and the Demon-Winged clan all had this awareness. After thinking for a while, Mo Zhantian knew that he only had 2 choices. One was to get rid of King Yawu, find a place to recover, and then plan again. The other was to go back. Even if he had to pay a high price, he had to rush back to Infinite Wasteland and the Demon Imperial City. Only then would he be safe. Thinking of this, Mo Zhantian had a headache. Neither of these 2 paths was easy to take. It was unrealistic for him to shake off King Yawu. He and King Yawu were currently flying at full speed, and their speeds were almost the same. Should he burn his essence blood? If he did that, King Yawu would not hesitate either. The situation would become a battle of attrition where both sides would suffer. As for returning to Infinite Wasteland, he would have to take the Nirvana Ocean Bridge and walk through the city. Then, he would not be able to ignore the city's defensive array and would have to pay a price. If he rushed from the edge of infinite wasteland to the Nirvana Ocean Bridge, then he would have to bear the attack of the Nirvana Tide. On the Nirvana Ocean, the energy of heaven and earth and the Nirvana Ocean would fuse together, and the resulting damage would be terrifying. He would also have to pay a price. While thinking, Mo Zhantian also knew that he did not have much time left. Tran Hung and the Grand Elder were most likely already on their way to intercept him. After thinking for a while, Mo Zhantian felt that it was not safe to stay in the celestial realm. The best way was to return to the demon imperial city. He could not give the 100 races of the celestial realm the chance to surround and kill him. Looking up, Mo Zhantian realized that he was in an inland ocean. At this moment, a soul crystal on Night Sorrow's body cracked, and King Yawu's soul incarnation appeared. Night Sorrow, that Mo Zhantian ran to Star Moon Lake and will arrive at Star Moon City soon. Get someone to activate the defensive array. Uncle is worried that he is going for Star Moon City, King Yawu said to Night Sorrow. After speaking, King Yawu's soul incarnation dissipated. Night Sorrow's face turned cold. He did not expect King Yawu and Mo Zhantian to run so fast. His soul incarnation entered the teleportation array and started the teleportation. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow's 9-domain doppelganger found Mo Tianji. What do I need to do? Mo Tianji walked out of the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pavilion. I will make it short. Mo Zhantian is now fighting with King Yawu. You do not need to care about this. However, the gateway to our 9-domain world cannot be broken. Star Moon City is the gateway to the 9-domain world. You need to help me guard it, Night Sorrow explained the situation to Mo Tianji. I know that Star Moon City is the gateway to the 9-domain world. Protecting the 9-domain world is also my responsibility. However, I did not expect to face something so soon. I will go now. Mo Tianji let out a sigh. She knew that Night Sorrow's request was reasonable. Even if he did not ask for it, she knew that she would have to do something. I know that you are in a difficult position. You just need to protect Star Moon City from being attacked. That way, you will feel better. Night Sorrow nodded. AI more RK new, most /s fast, Gomo Tianji nodded and entered the teleportation array. At this moment, Mo Zhantian and King Yawu were still chasing after each other. They were getting closer and closer to Star Moon City. The 9-domain world and the celestial realm were very close. The teleportation array was also very fast. When Mo Tianji arrived at Star Moon City, she activated the defensive array and stood in the air above the city. At this moment, Mo Tianji was a little emotional. The world was unpredictable. During this period of time, she had schemed to enter the 9-domain world. Now, she was fighting for the 9-domain world. She was already a part of the 9-domain world. Mo Zhantian, who was flying, naturally sensed Mo Tianji above Star Moon City. His heart was in turmoil. Mo Tianji. Although Mo Tianji's appearance had changed, her soul aura was still there. Tianji. Mo Zhantian shouted. Mo Zhantian, I don't want to fight with you. Retreat. Leave Star Moon City and I will pretend that you were never here. Mo Tianji's eyes were calm. When she saw the members of the demon-winged clan, she was emotional. However, her determination did not waver. What? Mo Zhantian was stunned. He did not expect Mo Tianji to say something like this. Moreover, she said it while being emotionally stable. I don't care about the war between the demon-winged clan and the celestial realm. This is Star Moon City. No matter who it is, as long as they dare to attack Star Moon City, I will kill them. Mo Tianji saw that Mo Zhantian was still charging in a straight line. She extended the long sword in her left hand to her chest. She was ready to attack at any time. Mo Zhantian was confused when he saw Mo Tianji's shining longsword. However, he knew that Mo Tianji was already filled with battle intent and killing intent. If he continued to charge forward, he would be met with an attack. Mo Zhantian could also feel the danger. Mo Tianji's cultivation level was not as high as his, but her combat ability was strong. She could hurt him. Mo Zhantian controlled his body and drew an arc. He went around Star Moon City. He did not dare to challenge Mo Tianji's words. Tianji, why? Mo Zhantian asked loudly. Chapter 2184. Mo Tianji didn't even look at the battle between King Yewu and Mo Zhantian because she didn't care. She didn't care who had the upper hand. It wouldn't affect her life. In her opinion, the 9-domain world was unbreakable. Whether Night Sorrow could survive the god-destroying tribulation or not, the 9-domain world would be stable in this era. She could live a stable life. Mo Tianji's state of mind was peaceful, but Mo Zhantian couldn't. Even though he had lived for more than 9 eras and had a rock-solid state of mind, he couldn't. Mo Tianji's sudden appearance had a huge impact on him. When Mo Tianji's statue in the Demon Imperial City's sacrificial tower broke, Mo Zhantian and Mo Yutian determined that Mo Tianji had died. But now, Mo Tianji appeared with the cultivation of the tribulation of 9 emperors. Most importantly, Mo Tianji's aura was very stable. It was completely different from when she was severely injured. In addition, Mo Zhantian discovered that Mo Tianji's life origin was complete, but it was no longer the origin of Heaven Wasteland domain. Thinking of this, Mo Zhantian understood Mo Tianji's words. Mo Tianji's life origin had changed. If she was reborn, then something big must have happened. Mo Tianji had severed her karma with the past. Thinking of this, Mo Zhantian felt helpless. Mo Tianji had done enough for Moe. To reach this point, it was his and Mo Yutian's fault. King Yewu, you guys are despicable. Mo Zhantian cursed angrily. He was very angry now. What do you know? You call us despicable? You're not 1 or 2 years old. Don't you know to speak the truth? What makes you think you can jump to conclusions? King Yewu snorted at Mo Zhantian's words. If it weren't for your despicable methods, would Mo Tianji have become like this? Mo Zhantian roared. What a joke. This is a war between races. It's a war to the death. What's wrong with using some methods? Didn't you also arrange spies? But you didn't do it properly. King Yewu retorted. After King Yewu said this, Mo Zhantian didn't say anything. He couldn't refute King Yewu's words. The chase continued. At this moment, not only was Mo Zhantian's body injured, his spirit had also suffered a severe blow. However, Mo Zhantian's willpower was firm. At this moment, he was still flying at full speed. His route was the route back to the Tianhuang city. Mo Zhantian had already made up his mind. He wanted to go back and reorganize the battle. King Yewu continued his pursuit. He wasn't in a hurry because Mo Zhantian wouldn't be able to escape. He had already considered both of Mo Zhantian's escape routes. He wasn't afraid of either one. After returning to Star Moon City, Mo Tianji handed a soul crystal to Qing Emperor. If this place is attacked, crush it. I will rush over immediately. Qing Emperor nodded. He didn't know who Mo Tianji was, but he knew that she was an incredible expert. Seeing Mo Tianji return to the 9-domain world, Night Sorrow's 9-domain clone handed Mo Tianji a jar of wine. You don't have to worry. It's nothing. Some things have to be faced sooner or later. It's just that it's a little early. I'm fine. Mo Tianji looked at Night Sorrow and said. Who can be heartless? I can understand your feelings. Night Sorrow shook his head. He could understand Mo Tianji's feelings. I left a soul crystal for your master, Qing Emperor. You don't have to worry about Star Moon City. After Mo Zhantian understands my intentions and attitude, he won't come to Star Moon City to seek trouble. Mo Tianji said. Then you go and rest. The future is beautiful and it's also our own. I will support you in whatever way you want to live. For example, if you want to get married, I will give you the grandest wedding. It won't be any worse than my sister's wedding. Night Sorrow said with a smile. When you talk nonsense, you don't look like a realm lord at all. I know you are busy. Go. Let's drink tea together when you have time. Mo Tianji said and entered the Origin Enlightened Treasure Pavilion. It's not easy. It's been hard on her. Night Sorrow turned his head and looked at Tai Shu Yen, who was walking to his side. After sighing, he also entered the heaven-sealing Great Hall. At this time, Night Sorrow's battle clone also arrived at Star Moon City. After checking, he was relieved that Star Moon City wasn't attacked. As for the battle between King Yawu and Mo Zhantian, he couldn't participate. This was because his cultivation was too low. He couldn't keep up with the speed and rhythm. Mo Zhantian felt that his situation wasn't good. While flying at full speed, he couldn't suppress the reincarnation energy that Night Sorrow had injected into his body. He had already consumed 30% of his energy, while King Yawu had only consumed less than 20%. In order to prevent his route from being calculated, Mo Zhantian kept changing his flight path. However, his final destination was Heaven Desolate City. Tran Hung and King Yawu would occasionally use the soul crystal imprint to contact each other. However, Mo Zhantian kept changing his flight path. Tran Hung's interception also became a hindrance to him. As time passed, Mo Zhantian was getting closer and closer to Heaven Desolate City. Mo Zhantian knew that the next obstacle was here. If he could break through Heaven Desolate City, he would be fine. If he couldn't, then the problem would be big. Mo Tianji had made a mistake, which led to many mistakes. King Yawu didn't know Tran Hung's location. The last location that she had informed him was far from their current location. That was also the last soul crystal that he had left with Tran Hung. He had no choice but to contact the Grand Guardian of Divine Capital, Shiryu. Night Sorrow stayed at the top of Heaven Desolate Tower. He used his soul force to search for loopholes in the formation. At this time, Shiryu arrived at Heaven Desolate City and found Night Sorrow. Young City Lord, the City Lord has contacted me. He asked me to inform you that Mo Zhantian's destination is Heaven Desolate City. He wants you to see if you can contact the City Lord and the Grand Elder. Uncle Shiryu, please help me run to Reincarnation Island and inform the Grand Elder. I can't contact them now, Night Sorrow said. Shiryu bowed and left. He knew that this was a big matter. It was a big matter for the 100 races of the celestial realm. Night Sorrow rang the bronze bell on the martial arts field and gave the order to prepare for battle. If Mo Zhantian wanted to return to Heaven Desolate and Devil Imperial City, he had to pass through the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. After the bronze bell was rung, the leaders of the various divine beast races came to Heaven Desolate Tower. The bronze bell was a battle order. Young City Lord, what's the situation now? Huang Ling asked. Mo Zhantian is being chased by my martial uncle and has nowhere to run. He might be charging towards Heaven Desolate now. If he wants to return to Devil Imperial City, we have to stop him, Night Sorrow said. That bastard, he still dares to come back. Night Sorrow, give the order. Let's see what's the best way to fight, Heavenly Astral Monarch said. Forever Winky Face. Long Free E look at L little Y says. Chapter 2185. After hearing Night Sorrow's order, the Golden Dragon King and the others left and went to the 4 walls of the city to defend. Mo Zhantian's speed was very fast. If they couldn't intercept him in time, he would rush out of the city. Night Sorrow knew about Mo Zhantian and King Yawu's speed. It would take a long time to travel from the Heavenly Desolate City to the Ethereal Dynasty's territory. King Yawu and Mo Zhantian had flown back and forth in more than a day. Therefore, Night Sorrow knew that he couldn't be careless at all. If he was careless, Mo Zhantian would escape. Night Sorrow's battle clone teleported towards the Heavenly Desolate City. The Star Moon City was safe, and the unstable area was the Heavenly Desolate City. When the heavenly desolate city appeared in the range of his soul power, the corner of Mo Gentian's eyes twitched. He realized that the atmosphere above the city had changed. It was filled with a murderous aura. It was much more intense than when he first arrived, giving him a strong sense of crisis. Well done, King Yowu praised. Since Mo Gentian could detect the situation in the heavenly desolate city, it was naturally within the range of King Yowu's detection. King Yowu also knew that Tran Hung and the Grand Elder were not in the city. The changes in the heavenly desolate city's formation were naturally caused by night sorrow. On the contrary, King Yowu was excited. Mo Gentian was in a dilemma. It would be difficult for him to pass through the heavenly desolate city because the formation could slow down his speed. The attacks could also threaten his life. When he first arrived, the formation's energy fluctuation was only half of what it was now. It was enough to injure him. Now that the formation's power had doubled, it wouldn't be a problem to severely injure him. At this time, even the slightest unfavorable factor could bring about unpredictable consequences. Night Sorrow, who was standing on the heavenly desolate tower, also thought of this problem. Mo Gentian wouldn't enter the city after seeing the changes in the heavenly desolate city's formation. It was most likely that he would go outside the influence of the formation. With the help of the heavenly desolate city's formation, Night Sorrow rose into the sky and flew towards the world suppression gate of the heavenly desolate city. The heavenly desolate city was located on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. There were only two big city gates. One was the world suppression city gate facing the celestial realm. And the other one was Nirvana city gate facing the world suppression gate. Yi Shang was going to intercept them at the city gates. As for the guards inside the city, his avatar was on the way. He was racing against time. Mo Gentian's clone's sword's heart. At this moment, Mo Gentian was still in the form of the heart sword. It was a long sword that shone brightly between heaven and earth, piercing through space as it flew. Its flames clones Gentian to the heavenly desolate cities to the heavens. Clear Sky Pagoda's protection. Night Sorrow activated the Clear Sky Pagoda and merged it with his body. He had to intercept Mo Gentian even if he was seriously injured. Night Sorrow didn't think that would happen. His body was strong and full of Taoist rhymes. It wasn't something that could be destroyed in a few moves. As for soul attacks, Night Sorrow wasn't afraid. He had the 9 domain origin beads in his spirit sea. Not every attack could break through it. He extended his right arm and pointed the Samsara halberd at the sky while gathering energy. The heavenly desolate city was not near the heavenly desolate tower. Although the heavenly desolate city's defense was strong, its attack power was somewhat lacking. After detecting Night Sorrow's figure, Mo Gentian had the urge to eat Night Sorrow. The Devil Wing clan was passive, and he was passive. Everything was because of Night Sorrow's appearance. Mo Tianji was now willing to go against him for Xingyu's city because of Night Sorrow. Suppress. Night Sorrow's Samsara halberd pressed down. The energy in the sky descended and bound towards Mo Gentian. Break. Mo Gentian roared. The heart sword collided with the energy controlled by Night Sorrow. During the collision, a grain of gravel flew out. That was one of Mo Gentian's spatial treasures. Inside it were the younger generation of the Devil Wing clan. Mo Gentian knew that his plan had failed. He couldn't establish himself in the celestial realm. However, he still wanted to leave behind a spark. He wanted to leave his men in the celestial realm. King Yowu and Night Sorrow didn't notice this. After the collision, it was normal for the gravel on the Nirvana Ocean Bridge to fly. Mo Gentian's divine soul unity realm attack power was too tyrannical. Night Sorrow's spatial fetters suppression was directly broken. Mo Gentian's speed didn't decrease as he continued flying. Sky-pulling spear art. Night Sorrow naturally wouldn't let Mo Gentian fly at such a high speed. He used his ultimate move again. Outside the heavenly desolate city, the power of the defense array of the heavenly desolate city under Yi Shang's control was reduced. The sky-drawing spear technique this time was only half as powerful as last time. However, the sky-pulling spear art in such a state was already very terrifying. Countless spear lights pierced towards Mo Gentian's heart sword. Spatial cracks had already formed. Blood essence burn. At the crucial moment, Mo Gentian burned his blood essence to increase his speed and defense. Following the explosion, Mo Gentian's heart sword was hit by the sky-pulling spear light controlled by Night Sorrow. The long sword trembled and Mo Gentian groaned. Mo Gentian was once again injured by the sky-pulling spear art. Under this situation, Mo Gentian also knew that he couldn't enter the heaven-desolate city. He wasn't in the heaven-desolate city and wasn't within the range of the heaven-desolate pagoda. Night Sorrow's control of the array had already reached such a level. If he entered the city, the situation would be even worse. After burning his blood essence, Mo Gentian controlled the heart sword that was transformed from his body. He drew an arc and flew away from the city gate and the city wall. He wanted to prevent Night Sorrow from attacking him with the energy of the heaven-desolate pagoda. At this moment, King Yawu was also burning his blood essence to chase after Mo Gentian. This was also a crucial moment. He couldn't let Mo Gentian go back after taking a stroll in the celestial realm. Within the array, Night Sorrow had a great advantage. He flew along the city wall and kept up with Mo Gentian's speed. However, he didn't have much control over the heaven-desolate city's array. Mo Gentian burned his blood essence to increase his speed and defense. He endured the impact of the Nirvana storm as he flew. Mo Gentian knew that flying in the Nirvana storm consumed a lot of his energy. It was the same for King Yawu. The terrain didn't help either of them. Night Sorrow was also in a dilemma. Under such circumstances, he couldn't help King Yawu. The heaven-desolate city's offensive array had lost its effect. However, Night Sorrow and Mo Gentian had different thoughts. After taking a deep breath, Night Sorrow controlled the energy of the heaven-desolate city's array to stir up the Nirvana storm. What he did would cause the same amount of damage to Mo Gentian and King Yawu. However, Night Sorrow knew that it was the right thing to do because Tran Hung and the Grand Elder would rush back. The heaven-desolate city had fresh troops. He only needed to suppress Mo Gentian's speed. Although King Yawu was under pressure, he knew that Night Sorrow's thought process was correct. At this moment, he needed to exhaust Mo Gentian. He had to make sure that Mo Gentian couldn't bear it and couldn't increase his speed. Now, he could control the burning of his blood essence. "You bunch of despicable people." Mo Gentian cursed. He knew better than anyone that the situation was critical. "I want to fight you fair and square. Do you want to fight me? If you do, I'll give you a chance." King Yawu replied to Mo Gentian. Chapter 2186. Mo Gentian wanted to curse. How could he fight now? Normally, he was not a match for King Yawu. Now, it was even more impossible. Fighting one-on-one would be courting death. No one said anything. King Yawu's words had shut Mo Gentian's mouth. He could not refute. If you don't dare to fight one-on-one, then what else is there to say? Mo Gentian didn't reply, he just kept running. Yi Shang was controlling the energy of the formation of Tianhuang City to stir up the storm, but he was still fast. He was trying to save his own life. If he didn't hurry, he would be in danger of dying. At this moment, the distance between him and King Yawu was gradually closing. King Yawu was stronger than him, so he could burn his essence blood faster than Mo Gentian without damaging his life foundation. Mo Gentian gritted his teeth and increased the intensity of his blood essence burning. He had to return to Infinite Wasteland, to the Demon Imperial City. Mo Gentian accelerated again. King Yawu's expression changed. If he increased the intensity of his blood essence burning, it would damage his life foundation. Mo Gentian, you dare to burn your blood essence without caring about the consequences. Then I, King Yawu, am not afraid of you. Come. King Yawu's body suddenly accelerated. The protective energy flame was filled with blood light. He was also burning his blood essence without caring about the consequences. Supra chap, CHJ, kill. Knight Sorrow was furious. He naturally knew what was going on. Both Mo Zhantian and King Yowu were burning their blood essence without caring about the consequences. This would have a great impact on the future. It would affect the chances of passing the god-destroying tribulation. Knight Sorrow was furious. The Haotian pagoda left his body and floated in the air. He then gathered the energy of heaven and earth and blasted it towards Mo Zhantian. It was not a simple attack. It was an attack that attracted the energy of heaven and earth using the heaven attraction spell. Knight Sorrow, you deserve to die. Sky Demon Sword Chi. Mo Zhantian roared. Then, countless sword chi burst out from his body. The sword chi was divided into two parts. One part blasted towards the Haotian pagoda while the other part blasted towards Knight Sorrow. Space-time realm, reincarnation true dragon spell. Knight Sorrow executed his ultimate defensive technique, space-time realm, and shuttled through the alternate space, dodging Mo Zhantian's ultimate technique, Sky Demon Sword Chi. Next, he brandished his Samsara halberd and executed the true reincarnation dragon art. Because there was no nirvana storm on the walls of Heavenly Wasteland, coupled with the high energy affinity within the array formation, Knight Sorrow had been running in front of Mo Zhantian to disrupt him. Now, he was facing him head-on. Go to hell. Mo Zhan's heavenly heart sword disintegrated as he attacked Knight Sorrow's heavenly Samsara halberd. Bang! With a muffled sound, Yi Shang was sent flying. Mo Zhantian's soul and soul as one cultivation base coupled with the burning of his blood essence made his attack power far surpass his imagination. A single sword strike was enough to send Yi Shang flying and injure him. Yi Shang's arm muscles, veins, and internal organs were all severely impacted. However, Mo Zhantian, who had clashed head-on with Knight Sorrow, didn't have it easy either. Knight Sorrow's Samsara energy was tyrannical. In addition to the Samsara halberd's destruction attribute, the tip of Mo Zhantian's long sword was blasted into powder. This caused him to spit out a mouthful of blood. His long sword was his life weapon. There was no time to chase after Knight Sorrow. Mo Zhantian continued to fly at high speed. He had paused for a moment, and King Yowu had closed the distance between them. Now, King Yowu was already in attack range. King Yowu's spear light was flying towards him. Knight Sorrow was sent flying by the attack, and he retreated to the top of the Tianhuang city's walls. Then, he sped up again, and after overtaking Mo Zhantian, he pounced on Mo Zhantian. Knight Sorrow wanted to suppress Mo Zhantian's speed with all his strength. After being sent flying again, Knight Sorrow spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood. His robe and right arm were covered in blood. His right arm's flesh and bones were all shattered. However, because of Knight Sorrow's 2 interceptions, Mo Zhantian's speed had decreased. King Yowu had caught up with him, and the two began to fight while flying. Knight Sorrow, how are you? Huang Ling and Wu Lingfei appeared. Wu Lingfei reached out to support Knight Sorrow. Aunt Fei is here. I'm fine. It's just some minor injuries. Knight Sorrow shook his head and continued flying, maintaining a distance from the battle. At this moment, there was nothing he could do. Mo Zhantian controlled the battle to distance himself from the Tianhuang city's walls in order to prevent others from interfering. While resisting King Yowu's attacks, he continued flying forward. The Nirvana ocean outside the Tianhuang city was tumbling with energy. It was a battle between 2 tribulation of 9 emperors, and both of them had reached the level of soul unification. The spectators on the city walls could not join the battle, including the leaders of the divine beasts. They were all mid-level tribulation emperors, and they did not have any forbidden element. Entering the Nirvana storm was just asking for trouble. A group of spectators also moved with the battle. In the battle, King Yowu kept causing damage to Mo Zhantian, but he could not control Mo Zhantian's movements. Mo Zhantian's main purpose was to retreat, whether attacking or defending. King Yowu could not do anything about it. Every time they exchanged a blow, Mo Zhantian would run away. If he did not use his strength, he could not cause any damage. If this continues, it will be difficult to kill him. Wu Lingfei, who was standing beside Night Sorrow, said, "A high-level tribulation emperor cultivator's body and soul have reached a level that ordinary cultivators cannot understand. Under normal circumstances, it is impossible to kill him," Huang Ling said to her daughter. Night Sorrow was also anxious because if Tran Hung and the Grand Elder did not come back, Mo Zhantian would rush out of the Tianhuang city. The battle was moving, and they were about to reach the Nirvana Ocean Bridge. Once they reached the bridge, the Nirvana storm would be weaker, and King Yawu and Mo Zhantian's battle group would move faster. "King Yawu, you want to kill me? You are not qualified." Mo Zhantian was furious. He was a peerless expert, and he had never been so embarrassed in front of others. "Let's not talk about whether I can kill you or not. I can make you lose half of your life." King Yawu used his divine spear to attack Mo Zhantian. "So what if you hurt me? You also burned your blood essence. Do you still think you can pass the god-destroying tribulation?" Mo Zhantian's face was filled with ruthlessness. He had originally wanted King Yawu to make a difficult choice, whether he would hurt himself just to attack him. However, he had underestimated King Yawu's determination to fight for the 100 clans of the heaven world. King Yawu had already put his personal matters aside. "Mo Zhantian, you think too much. Uncle, I have the heavenly Tao flower. You just need to control the extent of your injuries." Night Sorrow shouted. "Haha. Mo Zhantian, did you hear that? This is fate. I, King Yawu, am blessed by the heavenly Tao. You should think about yourself." King Yawu laughed after hearing Night Sorrow's words. What was the heavenly Tao flower? It was the best treasure to heal the body. It was a treasure of the heavenly Tao that appeared when the world was first formed. King Yawu knew what the heavenly Tao flower represented, and so did Mo Zhantian. His expression changed immediately. The existence of the heavenly Tao flower made him and King Yawu not on the same line. King Yawu's confidence was not something he could compare with. "Night Sorrow, remember this. Don't give us, the Demon Wings clan, a chance. As long as there is a chance, we will tear you into pieces. King Yawu, today's humiliation will be paid back in double." Mo Zhantian turned his head and looked at Night Sorrow, who was above the heavenly desolate city, and shouted, "You're tuning in to the Dreamy Love Stories YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories."